I'm not gonna be in it, I'm just gonna take a picture of this historic moment. I don't know.
Good evening. I'm Councilman William Pete Welch. Today is October the 14th, 2015, and we're beginning the Executive Appointments Committee hearing. This evening we'll have one nominee, and that nominee will be nominated for Police Commissioner of Baltimore City. His name is Kevin Davis. Before I go any further, I'd like to acknowledge who is here. To my left is Vice Chair of the committee and Dean of the City Council, Rochelle Ricky Spector.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. To her left is the President of the City Council, Bernard C. Jack Young. To his left is Councilman Carl Stokes. And to his left is Councilman Bill Henry, who is waving. To his left is Councilman Nick Mosby, a member of the committee. And to his left is Councilman Eric Costello, also a member of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And being seated is Councilman Warren Branch.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
And to his left is Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark.
Thank you.
And to my right, staff to the committee, is Jennifer Coates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
To her right is Councilman James Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And to the far right is Councilman Ed Reisinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And in the rear, we have from the President's office, Paul Plymouth. And to his right, from the Mayor's office, we have Angela Gibson. And I can't see, and I see Rebecca Tabb, who is attorney to the Baltimore City Council. And in the audience, we have Andy Smullian from the Mayor's office. And who else is here? I can't see. Okay, who's this? Oh, we have our Labor Commissioner, Deborah Moore Carter, in the audience as well. I think that concludes the introductions of who we have in attendance. Now, before we get started, I just want to go through a couple rules. I want this to be a respectful and informative hearing, and I will not tolerate demonstrations during this hearing. Police commissioners' hearings are a little bit different than most, and they bring out more people and more concerns, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the information and the testimonies that we're about to hear. But if there's anyone that demonstrates or is disruptive, I will warn them 3 times, and then I'll ask that they be removed from the chambers. So I hope that's understood. Now, the first person I'd like to call is Ms. Calliope Parthemus. I never could pronounce Calliope's last name. Is Calliope here? There she is. Good evening, Ms. Calliope.
Good evening. How are you? I didn't
Fine.
anticipate speaking. Good evening, Councilman Welsh, Council President, Council members. Hello. I'm Calliope Parthemos. I'm the Chief of Staff for Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake, and we are putting forward the nomination today of our interim Police Commissioner, Kevin Davis, and nominating him to be the permanent Police Commissioner for the department through the term June 30th, 2020. So I thank you all for your consideration. I think that you will find that he is a highly qualified candidate, one that is definitely suited for this role and someone that we need in this time for this city. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Acting Commissioner, would you like to make comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Madam Vice Chair and Mr. President and the other council members who are here. I appreciate all of our interactions since I've been serving in this interim capacity. They're all very meaningful to me, and I thank you all for your patience with me as well. I want to thank Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake for this opportunity to serve the citizens of this great city. I want to thank the citizens of Baltimore for their warm welcome over the last several months. I have I'm a lifelong Marylander, but you still don't know what you know until you know it. And the people in this great city are the warmest people who just want to win, and they want to be successful, and they want public safety to be part of that success. And I can't tell you how many meaningful interactions I continue to have here on a daily basis. I want to thank my panel speakers, and you'll meet them, and I was anxiously looking around the room to see if they've all arrived, and I thank them for their time as well. I want to thank my wife of almost 20 years. We got married on 11/11, so I think she did that so I'd never forget it. So Lisa Davis is here. We have 4 wonderful children, thanks and mostly to her, and our daughter is at college right now, so she's not here, and our 3 boys are scattered at various practices, and it's okay with me that they deem those things much more important than this. They're good kids, and I have my wife to thank for that. So another of the many unique things about Baltimore, everywhere I go, there's a discussion about high schools. You know, what high school did you go to in Baltimore? That is the number one question, not where you're from. What high school did you go to? And Mark McGaw, the Chief of Police for Prince George's County, will appreciate this because I'm a rabid advocate for my high school, so I kind of fit right in this environment. And there's 2 folks here. I know my football coach, Bill McGregor, is either here or on the way. Bill McGregor coached me at DeMatha. I'm not responsible for any of his victories, but I was glad to have the opportunity to play for him. Coached at DeMatha for 39 years and had a 1-loss record over those 39 years of 280 wins and 39 losses. He's still a mentor. And then another legendary DeMatha Catholic High School coach is here with me tonight as well. And I know Councilman Stokes will appreciate this as a basketball fan. Morgan Wooten, Coach Wooten, my history teacher. I never quite made it on the basketball court, but he was my history teacher at DeMatha and still consider him a mentor to this day. Morgan Wooten's in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame with 1,274 victories and 192 losses. And I know the Baltimore folks will probably ask Coach if any of those losses were to Dunbar, and we'll just say we don't recall right now. What? So I thank you all. I thank you all for coming. So the priority for the city of Baltimore, quite simply, is the safety of our residents, the safety of the people who live here, work here, visit here. Safety, safety, safety. I'm quite frankly tired of my detectives notifying mothers that their sons have been murdered on our streets. Mothers like Daphne Alston, and I saw Daphne on her way in. Daphne Alston is the co-founder of MOMS. MOMS is Mothers of Murdered Sons. She is here with several other mothers of murdered sons. There shouldn't be such a thing. There is. And they grieve needlessly. And too many other mothers grieve needlessly, especially in this very, very challenging year. And I thank them for being here representing the mothers and the grandmothers and the parents and grandparents across this city who are grieving even tonight. We must become safer, however, in a new way. As the nation watches Baltimore, we must demonstrate and define a new guardian mentality that involves the community and reject the old warrior mentality that has all too often created gaps between our police and our communities, especially those communities of color. There's absolutely no reason in the world that we can't be both crime fighters and community ambassadors. It has to be done, and we need to do it here. Now, briefly, to the citizens of Baltimore, I will be brief. I think Shakespeare said brevity is the art of wit, so I will be brief. I want to talk about 4 plans going forward. Number 1 is crime. Number 2 is unrest preparedness. Number 3 is the community. Number 4 is transparency and trust. On the crime front, in this post-Ferguson policing era in America, federal and state partnerships are a necessity. They're not a luxury. We've established BFED, where we've actually embedded federal special agents from FBI, DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshals, and Johnny Hughes is here tonight, the longest-serving U.S. Marshal in America. and the Secret Service. We've embedded them directly into our homicide unit, and we're not going after everyone in the city. We're going after the people who pull triggers in this city. We're going after people who harm other peoples in this city. The focus of violent repeat offenders, gangs, and drug organizations, that continues here in Baltimore, but we must plan beyond arrest. We must plan convictions. We must plan sentences for trigger pullers. All too often, those charged with violence in our community return to our streets for a variety of reasons over and over and over again. We have to find a new way forward, and we can't find that way by engaging in an isolationist mentality. We're certainly the 8th largest police department in America and the biggest police department in the state, but we cannot do it alone. We need all of our partners. As far as property crimes go, and I hear about property crimes in every community in the city of Baltimore, I call those property crimes the for sale crimes. They're crimes that if you're the victim of a property crime, you contemplate whether or not you want to put a for sale sign in your front yard. So those are crimes like residential burglary, auto theft, theft from your automobile, and other nuisance crimes which define quality of life. Another matter that continues to define quality of life, and I know Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark has been keenly interested in this, and Councilman Mosby as well, is what's wrong with the 911 system. If you call the police, if you call the fire department, you expect a response. So we are working to fix that. There's nothing more frustrating for me or others in our profession to hear that I called 911 and it took you guys forever to get there. That's unacceptable in this city. We are going to return to patrol posts. Back in January, we abandoned, after many, many, many years, the patrol post philosophy. And I equate that to having a football jersey on your back with a number on it. We have to put numbers on the backs of our patrol officers' jerseys. They have to know what geographical area they're responsible for patrolling, who they're responsible for knowing, who they're responsible for getting out of your car and introducing yourself. We are returning to that, and I expect by the end of this calendar year, we will be back to patrol posts. I also want to engage in a civilianization study. And I mentioned this, I believe, to a couple of the council members recently. We have not enough civilian employees of the police department. So what that means is we have sworn police officers performing jobs that civilians should be performing. So when I'm asked relatively on a regular basis, do we need more cops? My quick answer is we need more civilians so the cops can be cops. So we're going to embark upon a study and identify ways to hire more civilians and put more patrol officers, uniform officers, sworn officers back on the streets. And we need to better collaborate with other city agencies to solve the problems that face this city. Not every problem is a police problem, and we don't want to arrest our way out of most problems. If arrest is our first alternative, it's the wrong alternative. I'm going to continue my relationships with the former police commissioners. Baltimore is unique in many regards, but a lot of the former police commissioners in this great city still call Baltimore home. So I have met with Commissioner Bielefeld, Commissioner Ham, Commissioner Norris, Commissioner Woods, Commissioner Daniels, and I've spoken on the phone with Commissioner Frazier. And I can certainly learn from their successes and their failures, because believe me, anyone who wears this uniform and serves a couple decades or more and is over 40 years old, we all have failures in our past. And the question is, do we learn from those failures or not? Unrest preparedness, I want to talk about, and I want to say this very emphatically. I respect and will fight for the right of Americans to peacefully protest. I respect and will fight for the right for Americans to assemble and peacefully protest. There are many members from the protest community here, and I just want to tell you of a brief conversation I had with one of them, and I don't think he'll mind because he's already tweeted our conversation this morning. Kwame Rose is an active member of Baltimore's protest community, and I respect that. I respect his love for this city. I respect his willingness to call me on the phone. And I intend for that relationship, while it may not always be a perfect relationship, but to be a relationship going forward where we can identify ways so when we get to that critical moment, we know each other and understand each other a lot better and the tensions are lowered. Citizens, police officers, firefighters, homes, and businesses, however, will not be subject to harm and destruction. That can't happen either. Both are things that can exist simultaneously. We can't have businesses harmed, we can't have people harmed, public safety harmed, we can't have looting, we can't have fires. Baltimore deserves much, much better than that. Equipment and training. A lot has been said about that, and I won't go into great detail. We have now state-of-the-art equipment. We have sophisticated training, and I want to particularly recognize the Prince George's County Police Department. I'm a blind homer, so forgive the repeated references. And the Montgomery County Police Department for going out of their way over the last several months to ensure that the training that our police officers have in civil disturbance and mobile field force is sophisticated training, and they've opened their doors up to us, and I can't thank them enough. We now have stronger mutual aid relationships with the Maryland State Police and the surrounding county police departments. I thank all those chiefs. I know Chief Jim Johnson is here as well. I thank all those chiefs for their willingness to look at old, stale, outdated memorandums of agreement and update them. They've been updated, and now it's nothing more than a phone call to get the help we need at a moment's notice. The community. The community will determine our success. There's no two ways about it. I want to do something, however, you hear police leadership and political leadership talk about theories and philosophies on a routine basis. Those theories and philosophies have to be carried out most often by a 24, 25-year-old cop at 2 o'clock in the morning. So theories and philosophies to that young man or that young woman don't mean a whole heck of a lot unless they can touch it and feel it and see it. So two new things that we're doing in Baltimore involve community policing, which to a 24, 25-year-old cop is very theoretical, and cultural sensitivity, which is also very theoretical to a young person. We are in the process of developing a community foot patrol curriculum. We're going to teach patrol officers in the city how to engage in foot patrol. They have to be taught. It's a leadership responsibility to teach these young police officers what we mean when we ask them to get out of their car and engage in foot patrol. It doesn't mean get out and stand next to your car. You have to get out and talk to people. And police departments across our country have traditionally and historically taught young people in the academy how to interact with victims, witnesses, suspects, and reporting people. And if you don't fit neatly into one of those four categories, we're not very good at communicating with you. But we don't teach you how to communicate in that way. Police officers, I would venture to guess, are relatively assumed to be extroverted people. We're not. Most police officers are introverted people. So we do have to train, especially this new generation, I think they're called millennials, how to take all that IT savvy and all that intellect, and they've got much, much more than my generation ever had or other generations in the room ever had, but we have to teach them how to interact with people who don't fit into those categories of victim, witness, suspect, and reporting person. That will serve to achieve a community policing curriculum in a very real, tangible way. That curriculum will be taught both in the police academy and it will be taught out in the field, and we're in the process of partnering with some faith-based communities right now that will help us go out into the field and engage in partnership foot patrols with our police officers. We need to do it with the community if we're going to be any good at it. We are developing a speaker series called The History of Baltimore. So we've sat around the table on many different occasions, and I've identified 15 or 16 things that define this great city that people should know about. The history of African Americans, the history of the faith community, the history of the ports, the history of the police department, the history of housing. Most people, even folks who are born and raised in this city, are lucky to know about all those different things. So we think it's our responsibility to teach it. And as we teach our academy recruits and as we teach our police officers about all those different things that define Baltimore, and as we take them on field trips to those places and get the best of the best speakers, the subject matter experts from this city. We don't need to pay consultants. We have people right here in this city who can serve to teach the history of Baltimore to our police department. That will serve to achieve greater cultural sensitivity, and Lord knows we need it. Local recruiting and city residency focus. It's dreadful. Mel Russell is here, Lieutenant Colonel Mel Russell. He's the commander of our Community Collaboration Division. Mel just partnered with a local bank, and they gave us a generous donation to give our Explorers program a shot in the arm. And Colonel Russell went back at least 10 years and looked at each and every young person, 14 to 20 years old, who has been through our Explorers program, the pipeline to the police department. And guess how many of those young people became Baltimore police officers? 0. None. That's wildly unacceptable. There are ways to do it, and we're going to find those ways, and we're going to do it. We need to identify better incentives for police officers to live in the city. Right now, 21% of our police department living in the city. That doesn't serve well when we're admitting that we have a problem in our relationship with the committee. We need to live here. We need to incentivize it. If Johns Hopkins can figure out a way to do it, then why can't we? So we're going to treat local recruiting and city residency as absolute emergency priorities. Transparency and trust. There's a sea change in American policing right now that will forever be associated with calendar year 2015. History will one day look specifically back at this very moment in time and identify this year, probably more than any other year that I've known, that will serve to define when American policing began to change. When did it happen? When was that year that American policing went from the warrior to guardian mindset? When was that year that police departments admitted that we haven't been policing our communities the way those communities deserve to be policed? You know, when was that year when we finally realized that the community will only trust its police department when the community knows that its police department respects them? When was that year? And I'm here very hopefully saying that 2015 is that year. 2015 is now. This is when it starts. So whether you call 2015 post-Ferguson, post-Baltimore, whether it's a YouTube effect, this is the year that things change. The mayor has, along with the council, has done a lot to bring body-worn cameras to our city. Our pilot program begins October 26th and ends December 18th. We have 155 police officers from 3 police districts who are wearing 3 different body camera models. We'll select the camera that we're going to use for the entire agency, and we expect to outfit the entire department in February of 2016. It's exciting to think that young people joining this profession in this city will know nothing but wearing a body-worn camera their entire careers. And just the exciting possibilities that come from that are something that I'm looking forward to. We'll continue to improve our social media platforms of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now we do Periscope. Those are important ways to communicate with our residents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no other way to do it. The community demands timely information, and transparency is the only way to get there. We'll continue to identify public enemy number 1 in the city of Baltimore. Presently, public enemy number 1 is Derek Jackson. Derek Jackson killed a man in 2015, and he's suspected of killing another in a recent year, and shooting multiple others. Derek Jackson is public enemy number one, and there's no doubt in my mind, just like the first four public enemies, we'll have him in custody sooner rather than later. So public enemy number one, BPD's most wanted, Wanted Wednesdays, and soon a cold case profile that will feature on local television will serve to galvanize this community. Today, earlier this afternoon, in fact, the mayor and I announced that we arrested the driver, the accomplice, in the non-fatal shooting of the 9-year-old little girl who lives just a block away from Mackenzie Elliott. So that Sunday afternoon and the circumstances and the eerie resemblance to Mackenzie Elliott's cold-blooded murder are eerie. Same community, just a block away. We would not have closed that crime. We would not have arrested Michael Day today and charged him with attempted murder if not for information that came from the community. So one of the reporters asked us, why'd you close this one so quickly and why is Mackenzie Elliott still open? Quite simply, it boils down to the flow of information from the community that can be married up to old-fashioned detective work in Waverly, right? So I hope to stand in front of some cameras, and Councilwoman, I'm sure you'll be there, when we identify that trigger puller. So we have his accomplice, and that's a good thing for the community. It's nothing to celebrate when a 9-year-old is shot playing in her front yard, but his apprehension is a good thing. Community Collaboration Division under Lieutenant Colonel Russell is expanding on a chaplaincy program, the Explorers program that I spoke about, and this is going to prompt some questions, so just hear me on this, a revised reintroduction of Officer Friendly into our high schools. So we're working very, very hard to revise Officer Friendly, right? In Baltimore, it's all about Officer Friendly and what high school you went to, right? Officer Friendly is coming back. Colonel Russell's leading the way on this, and it's going to involve our patrol officers. This past summer, our first summer basketball league for grade school kids was fantastic. We have a bridge mentorship program where Sergeant Phil Dixon and Sergeant Mike Jones stay after school with at-risk young people and talk to them about things like self-esteem and confidence, and that's really going well. Our 9 district commanders routinely conduct outreach efforts in their respective districts. I've said it for years and years and years, the most important people on any police department are patrol officers, patrol sergeants, and President Young's reminded me of that, and district commanders. If you have the patrol officers, if you have patrol sergeants, and you have those district commanders hitting on all cylinders, chances are your police department's headed in the right direction. And finally, the Department of Justice investigation that is underway, the mayor called for it. It was a smart thing for her to do. She requested it. I lived through a Department of Justice experience in Prince George's County as County Executive Rashawn Baker chuckles. It made us better, and I know Mark McGaw's here, and he knows that, and Hank Stawinski, the Deputy Chief, is here, and he knows that. It was a challenging experience that served to make us a better, more accountable police department. Now, the million-dollar question is, can a police department undergo a Department of Justice investigation, consent decree, agreement, and still simultaneously fight crime? And the answer is, of course they can. And it's been done. And it's been done right here in Maryland. So I look forward to applying the experiences that I gained through that process to Baltimore, the Department of Justice, and their subject matter experts and the technical assistance that they'll provide us will make us a better police department. I want to finally thank the BPD command staff, and they're here tonight, the rank and file. It's a challenging time to be a police officer, but it's an exciting time to be a police officer. I thank you, Mr. Chair. We certainly have a lot of work to do as a city. I'm looking forward to it. Baltimore wants and needs to win again, and I'm looking forward to being part of this great comeback. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Interim Commissioner Davis. I need a little more volume on this mic. I can't hear it. I know some other people might. Let's try the other one. Hello? All right, I'm gonna use both of them. All right, thank you, Interim Commissioner. I see you have a number of people who would like to testify on your behalf. And before I get to that, I want to go through the process just one more time. After those people testify on your behalf, we'll have questions by the council and by the general public. And if you look up well, it was on the screen. We'll have 3 minutes for each individual to ask questions. We have 8 pages of people wanting to testify, and I want to hear each and every person who wants to testify. I think that makes for a very comprehensive and inclusive hearing. So we'll start with the first person who will be testifying on your behalf, and that's the Honorable Rushawn Baker, Prince George's County Executive. Welcome, County Executive Baker.
Chief. Good. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the council, President Young. Good to be here. You know, I was so comfortable over at that seat, I almost, stayed here. It's my pleasure to be in the great city of Baltimore, to come in here in support of, I call him Assistant Chief Davis as your police commissioner. And I won't be long. You've had a chance to work with Kevin Davis. Let me just tell you a bit about my experience with Kevin Davis. I knew him when I was a delegate, knew him when he was at the district commander's area, but I really got to know him when I came into office. As he mentioned, when I came into office, there were a lot of things going on in Prince George's County. We still were under a Justice Department order. We had a little bit of a problem with the previous administration. And to make matters worse for me as a brand new chief executive, we had 13 homicides in 13 days, and Chief McGall and I go back and forth on this. He says it was 12, I say 13. Either way, it was too many murders. And what we knew we had to do was come up with a strategy, not just to solve those homicides, but to put in place a strategy, a long-term, systemic way of reducing crime in Prince George's County. So it wouldn't just be for a month, but it'd be for a long period of time. One of the key individuals that help us think through how we would do that is Kevin Davis. The first step was really to get everybody in the room, and I think Sheriff High is here. We had our state's attorney, and we had Sheriff High, the police command staff, my executive staff, and we met every Monday to work out a strategy on how we would do this. And what came out of that was we saw a reduction the second year I was county executive. The first year we went up homicides by about 5, but the second year we had a 33% reduction in homicides in Prince George's County. We saw a reduction in every area of violent crime in Prince George's County. Now that would have been good just for that 1 year. But what Kevin Davis helped us come up with was what we call our Transforming Neighborhoods Initiative. And that's what I'd like to talk about. What Kevin was able to work with us on is how do you go beyond just arresting and locking people up and prosecuting them? That's not going to have systemic crime reduction. What is going to have systemic crime reduction is a holistic approach. So we looked at Prince George's County and our challenging areas. There are 6 of them. We not just looked at crime, we looked at education, dropout rates, we looked at lack of health care, lack of economic opportunity, lack of transportation, all of the things that make quality of life, what we're lacking in those 6 areas, and how do you bring that into reducing crime? That's where we came up with the Transforming Neighborhoods Initiative. That's community policing. That's working together. Because of that, we've seen over the last 5 years a 30% reduction in crime in Prince George's County. 5 years, not just 1 year, but for 5 years in a row. And even this year, when homicides are up a little bit, overall crime in Prince George's County is down. It's down because of the work of folks like Kevin Davis and his ideas and his in his mind, working with us to do this holistic approach of what we call making a community better. That's the type of individual you're going to get here in Baltimore City. That's the type of individual that can help you, and quite honestly, help all of us. Because as Baltimore City goes, so goes the state. And we're not crazy enough not to realize that. We want you to have the best and brightest up here, because that helps us. And that's what you're getting in this individual. You know, I would not take that nice, easy drive up here, especially on my daughter's birthday, if I did not believe that Kevin Davis is the best man for this job. I truly believe that. He's been great to Prince George's County. He's been great to me as county executive, and I think he will do a great job for you. So I applaud the mayor and the council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, County Executive. Mr. Munir Bahar, founder of 300 Men March.
If I can get my 3-minute notice, just in case. I represent a community in Baltimore that a lot of us, as sometimes it's played out, it's referred to as, you know, we have this two Baltimores. I represent the other Baltimore that is not in this room. I represent the streets. I represent young men who come from environments that aren't always laced with ethics, morality, you know, harmony in between each other. And it is a war out here. Make no mistake. It is a war out here. And so in being in this war, of course, when you're overwhelmed, you look for allies. You look for partners, because it is overwhelming. I know all of us are fighting in different ways, and it's overwhelming. Sometimes those allies are sincere, are genuine, trustworthy, and sometimes they're not. When it comes to the police department, of course, there's a historical tension between the streets and the police. You know, long before I was born and well on. I have a scar on my right eye. This is from police officers when I was 17 years old. So this is the background. However, through maturing and really understanding what life is about, we begin to really see what's important and what's not, even in the streets, okay? Again, I'm talking about the other Baltimore. And what I've realized, as well as the many members of the 300 Men March movement, is regardless of how we feel about whatever, this difference, that difference, the safety of our children and the safety of our elders, our neighborhoods, women, is paramount. It trumps everything. It trumps any differences we may have politically, religiously, racial, whatever differences we have. The safety, you know, even animals want their offspring to be safe. We want our young people to be safe. And we have created a movement to try to preserve and enhance that safety. But we also recognize, amidst, again, a city with a lot of tension between the police and the community, that we cannot do it without the police department. And me personally, I thank any individual who is willing to put their life on the line for the safety of others, because we know how noble that act is. In a place where a lot of people will easily let someone else catch a bullet just so that they can survive and go home, especially children. Children are being shot, are being targeted when other folks aren't. So we, of course, support the police department and all the good individuals who are putting their lives on the line and who are fighting this war, a war against an evil that has no discrimination on age, no discrimination on innocence. And it is a serious war. Since I've met the commissioner, he's been very supportive of our efforts with the movement. They're not in our way. We're not in their way. We're working together as it should be. You know, we get the sense of empowerment from the police department, from Commissioner Davis, in terms of being empowered and feeling empowered and supportive as citizens to go out here and, in the face of this evil, say we're standing up against it. We're standing out for our young people. And we're willing, by any means necessary, to make sure that our communities become safer. I agree with Commissioner, 2015 is that year. Because 2016 is going to be totally different. Totally different. And 2015 will be that year that we look back on. So again, as the co-founder and member of the 300 Men March movement, I fully support Commissioner Davis and his work, and as well as the rest of the officers in Baltimore City who have to carry the burden and carry the weight of knowing what's going on out here on a day-to-day basis, having to pick up someone's brains on the street, having to clean up somebody's intestines, and then to have to transfer and give that information to a parent or a child that their loved one or whoever is gone. We support anyone who is fighting this fight, but specifically, what I have gained from Commissioner Davis is nothing but support, and that means a lot, as we have navigated through a lot in the years that we've been building this movement. It means a lot. Personally, he gave me his number, call me. Didn't defer me to others, call me if you need me, and he has been there. Just last week, we put up 2,500 posters in the neighborhood saying we must stop killing each other, from East to West Baltimore. Commissioner Davis came and met us down in Gilmore Projects, in the streets, talking with us, engaging with some other young folks. Just like he was any other officer on the street. So again, those type of actions, that type of support is needed. I support them, and I hope that Commissioner Davis is able to continue his leadership here in Baltimore City. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bahar. Chief David B. Mitchell, former Prince George's County Police Chief, former Maryland State Police Superintendent, former Delaware Secretary of Public Safety, and current University of Maryland at College Park Police Chief. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr.
Good
Chairman,
evening.
Mr. President, members of the committee. Great to be here. I bring greetings on behalf of the Maryland Terrapins, and we're looking forward to a great basketball season. We understand. We're all fans. I'm here to speak on behalf of the appointment of Kevin Davis for the permanent position as Commissioner of the great Baltimore City Police Department. In my 44 years, I've had a lot of experiences with members of not only the Baltimore City community, but the Baltimore City Police Department. Going back to a very dear friend of mine, Bishop Robinson, when he was the commissioner here, who was actually one of my mentors when I became the superintendent of the Maryland State Police. While I was with MSP, we had Spicy, state police involved in the inner city youth, and we had troopers working with the community, all in full support with the Baltimore City Police Department. The fact of the matter is, Baltimore City has a great police department, and now you have a great opportunity, an opportunity to appoint a permanent police commissioner who is worthy of the challenge and who brings the experience, as County Executive Sharon Baker said, to make the difference that all Baltimoreans want to see. I've known Kevin since he was a little boy. I worked the street with his father back in the early 70s in the Prince George's County Police Department, so I literally have watched him grow up. And I can tell you, his father was a great police officer, and Kevin was a great police officer. I had the privilege as chief of police to hire Kevin as a police officer and to mentor him along the way. I was one of his professors at Johns Hopkins University in the master's program. He's not only a great student, he's a hard worker. He's a great family man. As we know, his wife Lisa's here. He has 4 wonderful children. He's an educated man. through the, not only DeMatha High School, but on to the university here in Maryland, as well as Johns Hopkins University, as well as the FBI National Academy. He's an English major. I'll tell you, he writes great reports. I've read them over the years. He is. He's a very networked man. You just don't put BFED together without having a heavy Rolodex, being able to pick up the phone and call and ask for support. He has that capacity. He is networked in our community. Kevin Davis has a lot of courage. You've heard stories of when he was with the Prince George's County Police Department, how he was the #2 assistant chief working with Mark McGaw, reduced crime to levels that I hadn't seen when I was there. In fact, since we've been keeping track of crime in Prince George's County, those levels had never been seen up until this administration, and Kevin was a big part of that. Kevin Davis is a great leader. More than that, he's a great listener. He goes into the community and he listens. He hears what the problems are. You know, it was Bobby Kennedy who said, all of us might wish at times we lived in a more tranquil world, but we don't. And this was back in the 60s, and it rings true today. And if our times are difficult and perplexing, they're challenging, and they're filled with opportunity. This is that opportunity to appoint a permanent police commissioner who will bring crime and disorder to levels, as we've seen in Prince George's County, who will do more than just reduce crime. He'll improve quality of life. As a great listener, he'll be in the community. As a great listener, he'll answer the phone when he's called. He knows how to work with unions. He's a life member of the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 89, so am I. You received that upon your retirement from Prince George's County. He's a collaborator. He's someone who can bring folks to the table to find common ground so you don't give up the high ground. Abe Lincoln said, "The times are piled high with difficulty and we must rise to the occasion." This is that occasion. The people of Baltimore have spoken. Kevin Davis has listened. He's now answering the call. And for those reasons, I ask you to favorably consider and vote for Kevin Davis as Commissioner of the City of Baltimore Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Mitchell. Mr. Gene Ryan, President, FOP, Lodge 3.
Chairperson Welch, Vice Chairperson Spector, Mr. President, honorable council members, good evening. I've already submitted my report in writing, my testimony, so I'm not going to go over the whole thing so you can look at it whenever you get a chance. But I did want to point out a couple things. A lot of stuff's already been covered, so. But anyway, as a representative of nearly 5,000 members of the Baltimore City Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 3, it gives me great pleasure to announce the support from my membership and myself for the mayor's choice of Kevin Davis as the next commissioner of Baltimore Police Department. Commissioner Davis has many years of leadership experience, which you've heard between PG County and Anne Arundel County. And without a doubt, he's a cop's cop, and he is the right person for the job. I totally agree with the county executive. He's a man of integrity, mental strength, and he is already a proven leader. It's already been said. Since he arrived in Baltimore, he's already made some simple changes that immediately improve morale. He has showed commitment to improving the agency on every level, and including and especially the relationship with the community. He leads by listening and learning before he acts, a skill that is required to command a police department of this size and at this juncture. My memberships feel very strongly about his command and his approach to fair and balanced and it's all pertaining to all parties, including the community. We congratulate Stephanie Rawlings Blake on her nomination for the next police commissioner, and I encourage this committee to accept that nomination and make him next police commissioner. We also congratulate Commissioner Davis for the work he has begun, and the rank and file look forward to working with him and moving Baltimore in a positive direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Before we move forward with 4 other testimonies, I'd like to have my colleague Carl Stokes ask a few questions. He's going to have to leave. I'm sure, Carl, you're returning at some point.
Returning. I do have some questions for the commissioner, but let me not interrupt at this moment. But if I could ask Mr. Ryan, Sergeant, would you come back to the podium, please? Yes, sir. Thank you. Huh? I'm sorry, Lieutenant.
Just call me
I'm
G.
sorry.
That's okay.
So, Lieutenant, what I'd like to know is what my constituents are asking me, my very diverse constituents. Will the rank and file men and women of the Baltimore City Police Department do for Commissioner Davis what they would not do for Commissioner Batts?
Well, I don't totally agree with that, because the men and women were actually working for Commissioner Batts. There was a strain on his leadership towards the end with the unrest, but I've also went on record that the morale and the whole attitude happened immediately as soon as Commissioner Davis took over. So to answer your question, they were still working back then, but with improved morale, performance will automatically go up. Because to lower crime, there's several different ways to do it. Improving morale is one of them.
So, Lieutenant, I listened to your words, not tonight, but prior to tonight. And I heard you over and over again as you talked about the leadership under Commissioner Batts. What many in my community heard, and my community is the 12th District, it's a diverse community, we heard that many of the men and women had quit on the commissioner. And if that is so, they quit on the citizens of the city of Baltimore who didn't deserve that. I know you're going to push back.
Well, that's why you
But
called me
there's
up
a
here.
reality out there, and I listened to you very carefully, Lieutenant. We're friends, and I heard you, and I heard you again, and I heard you a third time. Again, I ask you, are the men and women going to do for this commissioner what they did not do for Commissioner Batts?
They are going to go out as professionals and do their job day in and day out the way they've always done it.
We don't agree. It's okay.
Right. They're already working hard for the city and the citizens of Baltimore, and they're working even harder for this commissioner. Without a doubt, when you have a commissioner that supports the men and women who go out and put their life on the line each and every day for the citizens of Baltimore, it means a lot to get the support from the commissioner and our elected officials.
We have a great police force.
Yes, sir.
A lot of great individual men and women. We also have a lot of great citizens who are living in neighborhoods that are being roiled by high crime, violence. Innocent people are dying. The people who are dying on the street are not just criminals.
Absolutely.
Older people are dying. Young kids are dying.
And we're going to work
I just
together.
want to know when we're going to get better sooner. We, my commissioner, we spoke about this. We need a plan that works now. You know, we have a plan for public safety. Pardon me, Mr. Chairman, I'll finish. We have a plan for public safety at the Raven Stadium, at the Orioles Park. We put dozens of police in those stadiums on foot, walking to make sure folk are safe. They don't drive by the stadium. The police don't drive by those stadiums and look over and see if everything is okay. We actually take dozens of people from neighborhoods and put them in those stadiums to make sure folk are safe. We want to see that in Sandtown, Winchester, and Oliver and Broadway East. We want to see officers who are in the street, who know the names of every citizen and every small businessman and woman. We want them to know the community as well as they should know that community. And we need a plan that works tomorrow. Tomorrow. We're still the worst. I'm telling you, we still are, and my citizens know that your men and women are very good. We know you're very smart. We know that you have tremendous resources and experience and professionalism, and you take great pride in what you do. We want to see you show the citizens your pride.
Absolutely, I agree. And with the commissioner's guidance and leadership, I think we're going to regain the pride we used to have.
Thank you for your service. I appreciate you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Am I good, Mr. Chair?
Thank you. Thank you both. We're going to continue with Mr. Richard McFarley, retired Executive Assistant Director of the FBI.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today on behalf of Kevin Davis. My name is Rick McFeely, and I retired last year from the FBI as the Executive Assistant Director with oversight of all criminal, cyber, and international operations for the Bureau. From 2009 to 2012, I served as the Special Agent in charge of the Baltimore Division of the FBI, and that's where I first met Kevin. During my tenure here, the FBI was working public corruption investigations extensively in Prince George's County before Mr. Baker. The extensive commitment of FBI resources to address corruption had left a glaring hole in the federal government's commitment to partner with local police agencies to combat violent crime in the county, which at that time was experiencing extremely high rates. Kevin was an assistant chief of the county police department and understood that in order to make a widespread impact on violent crime in the county, federal resources were needed to be a force multiplier to their existing efforts. From this understanding, Kevin was instrumental in creating a cross-border task force which involved the FBI, other federal agencies, working with the Prince George's County and the Washington Metropolitan Police Department to tackle the violent crime activity that transcended the border between their county and the District of Columbia. To staff this task force, we asked for 2 full-time police officers. Kevin gave us 7. We asked for experienced investigators. Kevin gave us the county's finest. And when we asked for real-time intelligence to help us on targeting, Kevin gave us an unprecedented standing invitation to sit in on their weekly ComStat meetings with their leadership. In short, whatever the federal government asked for, Kevin provided not only the resources, but his vision of how those resources should be deployed. That type of direction only comes from an individual who understands that crime fighting is most effective as a collaborative effort. Earlier this year, and Mr. Baker alluded to this, Kevin's former boss, Chief McGaul, talked about the holistic approach they have taken to reduce the crime rate, as evidenced by a 40% decrease in homicides over the past 4 years. I can personally attest that that approach was driven by both Chief McGaul and Kevin Davis, who brought teaming and collaboration to the fight. To Kevin, it's not about ego. It's not about being first in the press relief. As special agent in charge, I worked daily with the state's chiefs and sheriffs to tackle the crime problems that presented themselves. I sat on the Maryland Police Training Commission and executive board of the Maryland Chiefs Association. While I was continually impressed with the quality of those law enforcement executives with whom I serve, the leadership and vision I experienced in Kevin puts him at the upper echelon of law enforcement excellence. I am a firm belief you could expect the same from him as Baltimore's next police commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCauley. Mr. Kenneth Butler, President of Vanguard Justice Society.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for letting me speak, Councilman, Mr. President. You know, I want to piggyback on earlier what the Commissioner said, and as I was talking with Mr. Council President Sunday about the rank and file officers. Being a lieutenant with the police department, and I've been there 30 years, I still have a great relationship with rank and file officers. And they still come to me, and one of the things that I found was a lot of rank and file officers have said to me in reference to Commissioner Davis is, we trust. We have trust in him because he will tell us the truth. Even if we don't want to hear it, if it's something that we don't want to hear, but at least it's the truth. Also, with Commissioner Davis, the rank and file officers have said to me, you know, it's fun to come to work again. Now it's fun to come to work, to greet the citizens. And will every day be a sunny day? No, it won't. However, they now believe in Commissioner Davis, and trust factor is a lot with rank and file officers. As I have said before, if the police trust you and they believe you, they'll run through a brick wall for you. And that's what these guys are doing. The arrest rate for handgun violations has gone up. The handgun recoveries has gone up. You have guys now who want to just go out and, as we say, target the bad guy. And with the leadership of Commissioner Davis, these guys, like I said, it's just fun for them to come to work. And I speak with them daily. And they wanted me to say to you, Commissioner, keep up the good work. Keep telling us the truth, no matter if it's not something that we want to hear, but just please tell us the truth. And like I said before, they'll run through a brick wall for you. They'll run through a brick wall for the citizens of Baltimore. And with that, I would ask that this committee confirm Commissioner Davis to the permanent rank of police commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Butler. One of Baltimore's favorite reverends, the Reverend Alvin C. Hathaway, Union Baptist Church.
Thank you. I was informed not to have a long runway for my sermon, so it'll just be a helicopter. I'll just go up and come right back down. Honorable council members, I would say to you that we need to have stability and the leadership of our police department. Growing up in Baltimore, I've had the opportunity to interact with many police commissioners. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt that Mr. Kevin Davis is one of the finest. Two things that he did that just endeared me to him. First was that he understood that he needed to have a good relationship with Lieutenant Colonel Melvin Russell. That was a good thing. And out of that, at Union Baptist, over the past 3 months, we have hosted movie matinees. The last Saturday, October the 10th, we had over 70 children from that community. We had over 25 adults that were in the room. And the police officers were at the popcorn machine, at the hamburger machine, at the hot dog machine. They were leading people to the seats. They were taking brooms and sweepers and sweeping up the debris. And the people felt that they were a part of the community. If that's the way that our police department is going to go, that's how I remember our police department. The other thing that I would say is that the other thing that endeared me to Kevin Davis is that he said to me that I'm looking for a place in Baltimore to move my family. And I think that when a person's going to live here and be invested in here, and not only serve here, I think his service will be exemplary. So I stand here as a member of this community, a member of the faith community, a long-term resident of this community, and a leader of a faith institution that has provided service to this community for 164 years. That I think we have a professional here that not only is a professional, but he's sensitive to the needs of the community. And he's one I believe that this honorable committee should advance his name and nomination, and the full city council should nominate this man, Mr. Kevin Davis, as the next police commissioner of Baltimore City Police Department.
Thank you, Reverend Hathaway. Ms. Felicia Carroll, mother of a crime victim.
As stated, my name is Felicia Carroll, and I consider it an honor to speak on behalf of Mr. Davis. We live in a time where racial tension is at an all-time high, and cases are being tried publicly with speculation and assassination of the victim's character without even knowing the facts of the case. We are losing sight of the crime that was committed. I am the mother of Kendall Green, an unarmed 25-year-old black male who was slain by a white assailant. Under the leadership of then Police Chief Kevin Davis, the police department investigated and charged this person with murder. The case was unsuccessfully prosecuted. This is where my interaction with Police Chief Kevin Davis came into play. Mr. Davis contacted me immediately to express his disappointment in the outcome of the case. He let me know further that his thoughts and his prayers were with me and my family. He also said that if I needed anything, to just reach out. And he also gave me his personal cell phone number to contact him. We had plenty of community meetings, and Police Chief Kevin Davis came out and spoke in August of 2014 at an NAACP meeting where he reiterated that he publicly stood behind his decision to charge this person with murder and that a crime had been committed. While other leaders stood with me privately, and this is very important, Mr. Davis stood with me publicly, and it took courage because this was during the campaign season for my county. He let me know that my son's life mattered, and that meant so much to me during that period of time. Mr. Davis has shown me that he is an unbiased leader who will advocate for all victims and will stand up against the status quo. He is a forward thinker, and he's proactive rather than reactive. In my opinion, Kevin Davis would make a great commissioner, and he is and will continue to be an asset to both the Baltimore community and the Baltimore City Police Department. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Carroll. But before I go any further, I just want to make two notes. One, Senate President Mike Miller has been in touch with our City Council President Bernard C. Jack Young, expressing his support for Interim Commissioner Davis. And in my hand, I have 56 letters of support that our Councilmatic Service Unit has received in support of Interim Commissioner Davis. No letters dissenting or in opposition to his nomination. Now, I'd like to proceed with questions from the council, if that's okay.
It's more than okay.
All right. I'd like to introduce my Vice Chair, City Councilwoman Rochelle Ricky Spector.
Thank you,
Councilwoman Spector.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, I was very impressed with all the things that you have done and that you're going to do, and I certainly am pleased that you're where you are now. When I was a young councilwoman, I introduced a bill called copsteading, and you mentioned that high percentage of Baltimore City police that need to live in Baltimore. I don't know, but I would be very happy if you look into that and we can assist these wonderful people in sleeping at night in Baltimore. I've been plagued as a councilwoman when I talk to constituents, and they'll say to me that the policeman said, see, that's why I don't live in Baltimore. It hurts my heart when I hear that. So please call on us, and we'll do everything we can, because it's good enough to work here. It's even better to live here. You've been a man in blue. Thank you, Jennifer. I'm sure you compiled this wonderful information on this handout, and it gave us a lot of insight into who you are and where you come from. And so I see you've been a man in blue since 1992. I'm not a poet, but it just sounds good. And I believe Baltimore City is still under the magnifying glass of the Department of Justice, something that they call pattern of practices.
Pattern and practice.
Pattern and practices. And is that something you're familiar with?
It is.
Would you please share that with us?
So typically, the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division will investigate a police organization if they suspect that the police organization is engaging in a pattern and practice of civil rights abuses. And that typically centers around a number of different things: disparate contact with minorities on stop and frisk encounters, disparate contact with minorities on traffic stops. It can take the form of a number of different things, and that Department of Justice investigation sometimes leads to a consent decree, and a consent decree is simply an arrangement between the Department of Justice and a local police department monitored by a federal judge that compels the local police department to adopt policies and procedures that make it better. So I've lived through such a pattern and practice investigation in my past for, 4 or 5 years, and it's my strong opinion that it makes the police department better, and it's also my strong opinion that it does not detract from the crime fight. In fact, it enhances it.
Is Baltimore City still in that investigative mode with DOJ?
They are, and in fact, our Department of Justice compliance team coordinator is directly behind me, Chief Kenesha Martin. So Chief Martin leads a team of Baltimore City sworn and civilian folks who do absolutely nothing but interact with the Department of Justice during their investigation. So what will happen at some point in 2016, the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division will issue its findings, and then they'll later issue a remedy. And that remedy can take many, many different forms. It could be a consent decree, it can be a memorandum of agreement, or it can be a lesser agreement that helps move a police department forward.
As this unfolds, the president has lunch for the council every other Monday. I hope that you'll share that with us so that we are on the same page as you are.
Sure, we can come
Mr.
by with
President.
Chief Martin and brief you guys at your convenience.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. President Young?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Mr. Commissioner, as you know, Baltimore is facing a significant uptick in crime. Killings citywide are up 25% from last year, with more than 1/3 happening mostly in West and Southwest Baltimore. What changes can we expect to see regarding community policing? You know, that's a big thing that I've been trying to push for a long time under your leadership. What can we expect? in terms of community policing? I
Well-
know you talked about foot patrol, and that's great. I like that as well.
Right.
But I'm more interested in hearing about community policing.
Well, Mr. President, in fact, so far in 2015, 40% of our homicides have occurred in just 2 of our 9 patrol districts, the Southwest District and the Western District. Regarding community policing, that's something that's greatly misunderstood by rank and file police officers here and elsewhere. So we have to define community policing, and then we have to actually teach it and develop a real curriculum. I think community policing has, over the years, turned into a buzz phrase that a lot of people really don't understand. And it centers around the capacity of a police officer, particularly young police officers, to engage in relationships with citizens that aren't adversarial or aren't based on a crime report or a crime scene interaction. So leadership sometimes gets frustrated because our young police officers aren't engaging in community policing, but it's our fault because we've never really taught it as a curriculum. So teaching it as a curriculum will involve members of the community. So when we take police recruits, for example, and we get to that point of the curriculum where we want them to go out in the community and just talk to people, we'll partner those recruit officers up with a community leader, and they'll simply walk the streets, and we will assess their capacity to engage other human beings in conversation. That's something that police departments have never done. I'd looked across the country to see if any big city police department or big county had a foot patrol curriculum. No one has it. The closest it's come has been Chief Ramsey up in Philadelphia commissioned Temple University to do a foot patrol study about the benefits of foot patrol. And not surprisingly, foot patrol has many, many benefits, but we've missed an opportunity to instruct it. So we're going to instruct it here, and then we're going to measure it.
Okay. I don't need to talk to you about officer friendly. We had many discussions about
Yes,
that.
sir.
So I'm glad to hear that you're bringing that back. You said that the Baltimore City Police Department is developing a history of Baltimore curriculum for new officers to learn about the city. Who is developing this curriculum, and will the community have a chance to vet this curriculum as well?
Absolutely, Mr. President. So right now, that development is in its infancy stages. So we're trying our very best to identify and not forget about an aspect of Baltimore that's particularly important to teach. So whether it's the port community, whether it's the religious community, whether it's the immigrant community with the Italians and the Greeks, or the African-American community, or segregation or housing, once we identify the topic, then we'll work with all of our partners to identify the right venue to instruct, and then most importantly, the right person within the city. And don't worry, you won't see any contracts coming your way. This is going to be people volunteering with us, the right person to teach that topic, and we'll vet that, 9 ways to Sunday, Carl, right? So we'll make sure that the right person from the city is our subject matter expert teaching it.
When the contract for the Baltimore City Police was being negotiated, we were told as a council that it would be more officers on the street, and that never happened. I have been to some districts where there were 8 police officers on a shift, and there were school police officers who came to make up in these different districts to bring them up to 8. That's totally unacceptable because of the crime we have in the city. I'm hoping that you can work with the president of the FOP, because I talked to many police officers who said that they will like permanent shifts. And if you get those permanent shifts that go back to the community policing that I was talking about, that we used to have, where the officers worked one shift, so everybody knew who those officers were that worked that shift. The second shift, everybody knew who those officers were, and the third shift. And if anybody was on vacation or called out sick, there was a fill-in officer that always filled in unless he was out. So if there is any kind of way that you can work with the FOP, because the officers want it, that we can get the shifts that those officers want, where we can have permanent shifts, that would create a win-win for the police-community relationship, and officers can spend more time with their families, which would bring down the stress level on the police officers, and they could live like normal people. Not that they're not normal, because we got good police officers. Always say
They're not all normal.
Always say that we have good police officers. We're not normal back here, but we want them to be able to enjoy their family like anybody else. So if you can work with Gene and the unions to give the police officers what they want, I think they would go a long way in reducing a lot of the tension that's going on and bring about real community policing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And Mr. President, Mr. Chair, just very, very briefly, and the President and I have discussed this at length, and the concerns that I hear from the rank and file are almost without exception the same concerns that Gene Ryan hears from the rank and file. There's very little difference. So as we look back at January of 2015, we did a couple things that in hindsight probably weren't the best thing to do for public safety in the city. And number one, we got away from our posts, which we shouldn't have done. And number two, we added a fourth shift, and we didn't have the personnel to populate that fourth shift. So President Ryan and I have been in several discussions about finding a way forward with that issue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I proceed with Councilman Costello, followed by Councilman Branch, I'd like to ask Patricia Massey to please make comment.
Pamela.
Pamela, I just read what they give me. Thank you, Pamela.
Well, good evening, beautiful kings and queens. First of all, I would just like to say it just was nerve-wracking. And coming from someone that does public speaking, I'm a radio host and producer, and so on, but this was nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking because it takes me back to fasting in church. Anyone know what fasting is? Pretty much when you turn down your plate or TV or whatever y'all watch, or Scandal, whatever y'all watch, to focus on something that you need. So as for me, when I fast, I studied Esther from the Bible. And I see some of y'all shaking your head, like, okay, she going somewhere. And Esther had to make the decision, do I be quiet or do I stand for my people? Do I be quiet or do I stand for my people? And as a proud 32-year-old, mother of two, born and raised in Baltimore City, some of the roughest areas, Greenmount and Eager, Riggs and Stricker, Up Park Heights, 21202 and 21214, I did not always have a pleasant passing with the law. I never was arrested. As y'all can probably check my record, I was never arrested or involved in any drama, but I was in foster care. And the same organization that I was taught to dislike in my community was the same ones that picked me up from a school where I had to catch 3 buses from to make sure I got home safely. And when he was off duty to do this. So as for me to stand in front of kings and queens as well, it gives me a pleasure because I could have been traditional and sat quiet, but I will stand firm in my truth, and that is to make him the next commissioner of Baltimore City. And honestly, it's tough. It's tough because I knew that people that never broke bread with this man were going to have their opinions about him. I have broken bread with this man. I have prayed with this man. We have stood on North Avenue and prayed as a community for a 9-year-old child that was shot. So seeing him in all these different areas of the city, and then he was a guest on my radio show, which was very shocking because, as I stated to the letter that I sent you, beautiful people, it was rare for him to pretty much approach me and say, I want you to interview me. I want the Baltimore residents to get to know me. That was shocking. I'll be honest, I thought it was a setup. I was like, no, I'm good. But, but at the same time, even when I challenged him, even when I challenged you, you still said, is that all you got? Bring on more questions. Bring on more questions. And the radio show that I host and produce is not scripted. He cannot say that he received any questions beforehand. It was raw, but then at the same time, the substance that was left and that the community received and still called about and still questioned about and still was excited to get to know him more. That's what I truly appreciated from him. And you just encouraging me, and you just being a man of your word, and me still questioning you at times like, listen, don't screw us over. Don't screw us over. But at the same time, he's like, don't screw me over because we in this together. That was his attitude. And that's when I was really impressed. He said, no, we're in this together. So definitely with the help of Lieutenant Colonel Melvin Russell and him being such a great mentor to me and an uncle to me, and now getting to know Commissioner Kevin Davis, and just to seeing the core of him to bridge the gap of ignorance in our community, to bridge the gap of not just putting him in a position and said, okay, you fend for yourself. It's time for us to take a stand and stand with this man, to have his back consistently and encourage him, but definitely equipped him so that he can do the job and not alone. So definitely I'm standing with him, I'm standing for him. And it took a lot for me to come up here, but God says, I prepared you last month to speak before kings and queens because that's the one I won in position. And I never spoke on behalf of any political person at a forum like this. So it takes a lot for me to put my name on someone, but I truly believe in you. You are a man of integrity, passion, consistency, and I'm going to rock out with you. And I'm going to rock out with you, and it's people that's going off of what I say and how I feel, because I'm a tough critic. So you definitely have Northwest Baltimore backing you up, West Baltimore backing you up, Sandtown backing you up, because definitely I definitely appreciate the fact that I will not be ignorant and not get to know you, but still make a judgment call on you. I have gotten to know you. I have sat down with you. We prayed together, and that is my reason why I stand firmly as Pamela Curtis Massey, and I say, let's go for it. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Massey. Councilman Eric Costello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two questions, Commissioner. The first one's from one of our colleagues who couldn't be here this evening. I guess a couple years ago, there was a process that was started to redistrict the 9 police districts, and I was just wondering if you could briefly talk about what your plans are for that moving forward, if that's something still on the table.
Sure. And believe me, as I've top 10 things I hear in Baltimore, I need a top 10 list. That's on the top 10 list, the redistricting of Baltimore. I lived through that same conversation in Prince George's County. It's a tough conversation because then when you get into the nuts and bolts of it all, when it comes to redrawing boundaries and communities get impacted, feelings come into it, but just backing up from it all, we do need to redistrict the city. Ideally, money not being an issue, we need a 10th patrol district. The Northeast District is huge geographically. And I've heard that used to be called the Country Club, right? But it's not the Country Club anymore. It's the population shift to the northeast, the geography. We have our youngest police officers assigned to the Northeast District. So if we're going to do it right, because it's easy just to put Band-Aids on it, but if we're going to do it right, we have to do it in a way, because when you rob Peter to pay Paul, it's going to impact one community for the benefit of the other. It's just it's something worth doing, and I'm all in because it is worth doing.
Thank you. And the second question is on my end. We've spent some time talking about community outreach and community relations on the police side of things. And one of the things we talked about a couple weeks ago was BPD's development of a strategic plan under your leadership to memorialize how the police department does that. How do they communicate with community associations or business leaders? How do they engage in relations with the community? Can you talk a little bit more about the status of that plan and what you see as the next steps to getting that done?
Well, I've had a few conversations with folks about the way police departments interact with communities, particularly community leaders. And Baltimore is not unique in this regard, but normally that interaction is based upon the personality of the community leader and the personality of the local district commander. And then when one of the two personalities changes, there's no structure, there's no plan to rely on to keep that informal relationship going forward, and it requires a degree of formality that Baltimore is not alone in not possessing. So I'm certainly in favor of looking at any jurisdiction out there, and I honestly can't think of one that has a formal process in place that defines the relationships between communities, community leaders in particular, and police leaders. But I'm all for exploring that.
But I mean, we're going to be addressing how the police department's communicating with different communities, right? I mean, that's
right. Absolutely. If I'm not understanding your question, that's my fault. So there is a strategic plan. It's 192 pages. It's a bit heavy on theory and philosophy, and it lacks in part in kind of the nuts and bolts of it all. But that is a strategy moving forward that we need to further develop.
okay, and that includes the community outreach piece.
Absolutely. You know, far too often in public safety, you look at our 9 different districts, for example. There shouldn't be 9 different ways of engaging in a relationship with a community. There'll be differences, but there should be kind of a string that runs through it all of consistency, and I'm willing to explore that as a strategy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Costello. Councilman Warren Branch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. I just want to echo on something that my president, Council President Jack Young, had mentioned to you about the community policing. I myself, I'm a child I'm a 60s baby that grew up in the 60s and 70s. Then the technology that you had then is no way compared to the technology that we have today. The city then during that time, I believe, was over 1 million strong. I heard my president say one day in a committee hearing, budget committee hearing, that the amount that's budgeted to the police department was the same amount that was usually budgeted for 1 million in population back then. When I look at the way community policing is being done today, I look at the downsides. When the city downsized in the population, many of them exited the city, and the population dropped to 620,000, now 620,000 strong. Many of the city services was decreased because of the incomes that left the city. But the police department, their staff, the command and personnel remain the same. I mean, you still have the same police force and protection that you would have had we been back during the 70s. So what puzzles me is during that era, police officers who did foot patrol would walk the community. They had police boxes. They didn't have cell phones, and they had to get to know the people in the community if they needed to use a telephone. And Colonel Russell, and please consider making him a colonel, because I think it's unfair for him to hold a position that others before him were positioned as colonels. And to me, it feels like it's a demotion. But getting back to my question, they had to go to those call boxes, and the only two-way radios that they had was inside the cars. So they were better able to patrol over 1 million in population, strong back during the 60s and 70s. And we have all this high-tech technology that's given to police officers today. I mean, they have the cell phones, and we're even talking about now giving them the camera devices, which I think it's a plus for both the citizens and the police. But yet, I still see less foot patrol on the street than I did back in the 60s and 70s. And I heard you mention to the president that there is no plan, that you spoke with many commanders across the country. But yet, for a population back then, over 1 million strong, it worked. It worked. They engaged with the community. They spoke with the people in the community. We knew the officers on their first and last name basis. Everybody knew who the neighborhood patrol officer was. I think maybe we need to go back in time on that instance to find out how did they do it, because I think the officers now are much better tooled with the devices that they need to. I think we're like the Buck Rogers time. We should be able, there's no way that officers, as we continue to move into the future, is finding it hard to engage with, especially foot patrol, with the people that's walking in the communities.
So, Councilman, I think by virtue of necessity, cops back then were much better at it. And police officers now, and the average age of a Baltimore police officer is 25. They're smart. They're tech savvy. They're IT savvy. They drive around in their police cars, and you've probably seen it with their windows rolled all the way up, and they're looking down at their cell phones. But we need them looking out their windows, and we need them opening their doors and getting out of their cars. But it's one thing for police leadership to compel foot patrols, to make it mandatory, write a directive, send it off to everybody, and wash your hands of it. But it's quite another thing to teach what we mean by foot patrols. I think it's been a leadership failure in our profession just to simply tell police officers to get out of your car and engage in a foot patrol, because they don't know what that means. Some of them think it means just standing outside their car. They really don't know what it means, and it's not their fault. It's our fault for assuming they know what it means. So that's why I'm introducing that as a curriculum, and you probably didn't have to introduce foot patrol as a curriculum when several people in this room started their careers. But they were much better at communicating with folks than our young folks are now. So we're at a point now in law enforcement where our analytical capacity has outpaced our operational capacity. And it used to be the other way around. So we got to beef up our operational capacity, which includes foot patrols, to catch up with our analytical capacity. Because you can have paralysis by analysis. I get so many reports every day, and what do they mean? What are they good for? So I hear you loud and clear. And we are going to get back to compelling foot patrol, but beyond compelling it, we're going to teach people what we mean by foot patrol.
And my last question, I have a pilot program that I met with the previous commissioner inside these chambers, the I Pledge. And when the police department received this new contract, a portion of it was that they're supposed to be at least for a half hour outside the vehicles, walking through the communities. One, I think and half hour is not enough time, especially if they're doing 10-hour shifts, for them to be walking the communities. I mean, I would be satisfied with at least an hour if you're gonna take away an hour from a 10-hour period. At least give them at least an hour of walking through the communities, no less than an hour. And two, the way it was designed was that when they see these pledges in the windows, and that they would be able to challenge people that's loitering or trespassing on those fronts without the community having to engage or having the officer knock on the door thinking that someone within that household had called. And as I stated earlier, I rarely see, I represent the 13th District, which consists of a portion of the Northeast, Eastern, and Southeast, and I don't see them walking those communities at all. I understand because of the unrest that many of them, they're afraid and they're partnering up and riding around in cars, but it doesn't do any satisfaction for our constituents who's looking for them to be out there and moving around and walking around.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, that's all I have.
Yes, sir. We will compel it, Councilman, and we will teach it, and then we'll measure it, because being out on foot patrol shouldn't be perceived as a burden during your tour of duty. It should be perceived as something you do as part of your tour of duty. So there's a cultural shift within the organization that needs to take place, and I'm going to be relying on a lot of these veteran old-timers here who actually walk foot patrols to help me do that in a way that sticks.
And lastly, I'm not a member of this committee, but I do support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Branch. Councilman James Kraft.
Good evening.
Councilman.
I'm really excited both about what I've heard this evening and in our earlier meeting about the proposals that you have. I do want to note, as the chairman said, there were 56 letters of support here. I do want to say that one of them is from the Canton Community Association, which is in the heart of my district. Another one, and I did see her a little while ago, I don't know if she's still here, was from Joyce Adamski, who is the president of the Southeast Police District Community Relations Council, in which all 19 of my community associations participate on a regular basis. And if you've been there, you know that room is packed every time they meet.
It is.
And also from Eric Aribio, who is the president of the Baltimore Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which is very active in Southeast Baltimore. So our folks are excited about you. So I want to tag on to what my colleague, Councilman Branch, was talking about for just a second, because as you know, I represent much of the tourist area. I mean, starting from Harbor East, Little Italy, Fells Point, Canton, all across the waterfront. I think I have it, and my colleague, Councilman Costello, and goes up a little bit to Councilman Branch and a little bit over to a couple of our other colleagues, but we have that core. And this beat officer thing is just, in getting out on foot patrol, is something that just eats at the heart of my constituents. And I know that, I know that the prior commissioner spoke about it. I know that my major, both the prior major, Major Davis, and our present major, Major Garrity, have both talked about how important it is. But there's something that that disappears between you and the major and sometimes the guy that's in the patrol car. And my question is, how do we make sure that it gets down to that level so that, there are folks out there that are great, but there's a lot of them that it just doesn't come down to that last level.
Right. Well, I think back when I was a 25-year-old police officer, I did things that I was compelled to do, right? And if I was left to my own devices, I probably didn't do it. Police officers are very, what we do as patrol officers in particular involves a great deal of independence and discretion. And, what does a 25-year-old patrol officer do with literally a 10-hour tour of duty that's eaten up by, let's say, 3 or 4 hours of calls for service, and then the majority remaining time in that tour of duty is left as discretionary time? So one of the holy grails of police work, not just here in Baltimore but elsewhere, is this. We need to tell police officers what to do during those discretionary moments. We can't leave it up to them, right? We have to compel them to do things. So a lot of those conversations and talks and people standing at lecterns and talking about foot patrol and community policing, a lot of that dies right there. It's too theoretical. We have to take the theoretical and break it down to a nuts and bolts directive policy mandate, and then compel it, teach it, and measure it. I mean, I'm looking for someone to give me free Fitbits so I can see how many steps these cops take during a tour of duty. Anything we can do creative to compel it and measure it. But a mistake we make with the rank and file, and both Gene Ryan and Kenny Butler alluded to this, is you can compel and mandate all you want, and you might get 30 to 60 days of adherence out of it. But if you teach it and coach it and mentor these young police officers and get them to understand the importance of it, then it becomes something they embrace. And it's not a passing fad, and it's not something, that's just something the new commissioner wants. Hang on, there'll be another one, it's Baltimore, right? It's something that sticks in the culture.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it, and it happens in all level government. We have the transitional government and we have the permanent government. And the transitional government are folks like you and me. Right. We're here for, whatever, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. But those other folks, they're here 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and they say, hey, I was here when you came. I'm going to be here when you go. It's nice. I hear you. Keep talking. Yep. I'll see you when you retire. Go ahead. Right.
Well, I come from 4 generations of public safety, so I may know some people like that, right? But I also know that people like that respond best when they're not just compelled to do something, but they're taught how to do it, and they're made to understand the importance of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Kraft. Are there any other questions by my colleagues? If not, I'll ask my question. Interim Commissioner Davis, recently in the news, we heard of an incident where a police officer spit on an arrestee. My question is leading towards transforming the culture of the police department and the development of an accountability model quite different than the one that we've seen in the past. How do you intend to change that culture and have increased accountability so that the citizens of Baltimore will be able to see cause and effect and results in terms of the discipline of officers and in their behavior?
Well, let me say this, because it sounds like there's more than one person here who wants a response to that question. And I'm going to give it to you. So within 24 hours of that reprehensible act, within 24 hours, I suspended the police powers of that person, and I initiated, and listen to this, a criminal assault investigation. Excellent. Okay? So that's my response to that reprehensible act. Now, if I could do more, if the law allowed me to do more with that, I would do it. I have done, if I could answer your question, Mr. Chair, I have done everything up to the absolute maximum that the law allows me to do with that police officer who shouldn't be wearing this badge, who committed that reprehensible act. It's disgusting. How do we change that culture within this organization? We hold people accountable. That accountability has to be swift and certain. If it's not swift and certain, time goes by and nothing changes. So I'm pretty good at calling balls and strikes, and I've believe me, there have been moments in my career where I've been seen as right of Attila the Hun when it comes with discipline and other things that have to do with misconduct. I understand.
Stop for just a second. We're conducting a hearing, and no, let him answer the question, and we're going to move to comments and questions from the audience very, very shortly, as soon as this question is answered. So please afford the respect for this committee and for the nominee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I could take the liberty of a TV timeout, I was just informed that public enemy number 1 has been captured. So that's good. So we change culture with accountability, but the accountability must be swift and certain. And we're at a crossroads in this state with that conversation. That conversation centers around legislation that's existed for, I believe, 4 decades. And I know the Maryland Chiefs of Police Association has taken on this matter, and I think you'll see further discussion in session when we hit January of 2016.
All right. Thank you, Acting Commissioner Davis. We're now going to move to questions by the public, and we will have a 3-minute question limitation. The time will be monitored by Marshall Bell, our legislative policy analyst, and our first person will be Bishop Damian Berry.
Good evening. Chairman, President Young. I'm a young pastor here in Baltimore City. I normally don't attend these kind of events because of how I feel right now. My heart is broken once again. I came here today because I totally support this commissioner. But when the riots broke out, I saw a city tear itself apart as we blamed the entire police department on what some did. There is something that I installed in my church, and that quote is, "We're all in this together." But yet, I still hear a city who still hurts each other. And now my heart is still hurting again. I took my time because I did not know Commissioner Davis personally. And so to know a leader, I went to ask the people who work for him what kind of man he is. And each one of those officers that I approached were excited about their new leader. because you can't work for someone that you don't respect. But I sat back there again and heard people saying certain things to tear our city apart again. And I'm gonna come down in my 1 minute. But that is the problem that we have in our city, that we're tearing it apart day by day. I hope and pray that after we elect this commissioner, we get behind him and support him together and not tear him down like we did the last one. Thank you for this opportunity, Chairman, Mr. President. I will be working hand in hand with this commissioner because I believe in his leadership. But I pray that we all work together and help him to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Barry. Kwame Rose. Following Kwame Rose will be Brooke Welch.
Good evening, everyone. So let me first start off by saying, yeah, we did have a conversation this morning. Had nothing to do with what you referenced. We had a conversation about the Alfred Evans case, in which an officer of 34 years spit on a black man for the simple reason that he was a black man, and he dehumanized him. What needs to happen is that accountability from City Hall and Baltimore City, it needs to start taking place, right? Till this day, Commissioner Davis has never apologized for how protesters have been treated, peaceful protesters have been treated, arrested, and are now being prosecuted by the same state's attorney that's supposed to be bringing charges against 6 murderers that killed Freddie Gray. So charges against this officer I'm not really concerned about because it don't look like he might get convicted, right? So what needs to start happening is that we need to actually see change. And what I want to ask a question to the mayor, I know she's not present, she might have other better things to do than care about people of Baltimore, is why isn't that someone from Baltimore City been nominated to be the commissioner? Melvin Russell is one of the most respected police officers in this city and has been for decades, but yet has never come up before the nomination board as commissioner of Baltimore City. So something needs to change, and the people that are affected by these policies and the commissioners and the police brutality have to start being engaged by the board, by council members, by the mayor, and by the police department. And I want to know, when is that going to, when will that take effect? When will we start seeing community policing, right? Because every commissioner starts saying community policing, starts to say community policing, but it never actually happens. We never see it, it's just rhetoric. So when are we going to see action, not just from the commissioner or whatever votes, but when is the city council going to start holding the commissioner accountable? When is the city council going to start holding the mayor accountable, right? When is it going to be just, when are we going to do something except for every election year, right? We shouldn't have 12 candidates running for mayor. We should have the 13 city council members that work for 4 years, we should have y'all doing your jobs for those 4 years and not just when it comes time to get votes. We need actual change, right? It shouldn't be a time limit on people who have a voice and have something to say, but we just went through a filibuster for 2 hours of people who support the candidate. It should be transparency and it should be open. When are we going to start seeing democracy? When are we going to start seeing due process? When are we going to start getting answers? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Brooke Welch.
Can someone respond? Answer, please. This is a question and answer session. No comment. No comment.
Hi, everybody, and good evening. My name is Brooke Welch, and I work with immigrant crime victims as the Victim of Crime Act staff attorney at the Esperanza Center, which is...
Pull that closer to you.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, my name is Brooke Welch. I work with immigrant crime victims at the Esperanza Center. It's a program of Catholic Charities of Baltimore, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Police Commissioner's Hispanic Advisory Council. This council is initiated by the Baltimore City Hispanic Commission and has been embraced by Interim Commissioner Davis. Our mission is to increase public safety and reduce the incidence of Hispanic and Latino victims of crime by improving trust and participation between the Hispanic Latino community and the Baltimore City Police Department. Our membership includes representatives from public agencies, including the Mayor's Office, the Police Department, the State's Attorney's Office, and the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board, as well as service providers like myself and community members. Our principal functions of the Hispanic Advisory Council are to assist the Baltimore Police Department in terms of the emerging needs and concerns of the Latino community, to serve as a conduit for communication between the police department and the Latino community, to assist by facilitating partnerships and collaborations for the purpose of improving public safety, and to develop and monitor mechanisms to track progress and towards those goals. The members, the Hispanic Advisory Council, we endorse Kevin Davis as permanent commissioner because he has a proven value of building community ties with example of his commitment to diversity advisory councils like the Hispanic Advisory Council. He has direct experience with a significant Latino population in Prince George's County, including language access needs. And in addition, he's done initiatives in Anne Arundel County to improve diversity among the police academy class and improve the pay scale with recognition of the value of bilingual officers. In addition, he has a commitment to developing, implementing, and sustaining best practices for immigrant crime victims, including U-Visa certifications, as well as data collection. And for these reasons, the Hispanic Advisory Council does endorse Kevin Davis as permanent commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Welch. Nick Capanola. No. Neil Schachter. Mm-hmm. You have to help me with this one. I can't read it. Derek Bolden. Ah, who we have someone coming. Mr. Schachter, how are you? Thank you very much. Please come forward.
I was going to try to speak for you if you didn't get here.
My name is Neil Schachter. I'm the president of the Northwest Citizens Patrol, which is the largest patrol in Baltimore City and in the state. First, thank you very much, City Council, for giving the citizens an opportunity to speak on this hearing, other hearings, and to give us a voice. The thread that binds all of us and that electrifies all of us, animates all of us, is crime. I have 3 minutes here, but the simplest thing to say is I echo all of the comments that all the speakers before me have spoken. It speaks to the record of Kevin Davis, and we implore that we ask you to please confirm him as the commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schechner. I think the next one is Dave Morris.
No, Derek Bowden.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Derek Bowden. Oh, I just want to say hello to my friend. This is my friend. I want to thank all of y'all for being in service and stuff like that. And I just want to say that after everything took place, Commissioner Kevin Davis had to fulfill some tough shoes. And from day one, he became the police commissioner in my eyesight. Commissioner Kevin Davis, myself along with my real good friend, Lieutenant Colonel Melvin Russell, and even Jack Young, we had meetings with street organizations where we had to come up with some solutions to help curb the violence and come up with some solutions in Baltimore City and on a national level, because Baltimore is my hometown. I was born here. I love my city. I'm gonna die here too. You know, I'm not gonna be run down, but the bottom line is Kevin Davis from day one, along with all the other people, I want to thank Nick Mosley too, he's been working hard in his area, but has been listening to the citizens of Baltimore, and that's something that hasn't been done in many, many years. Kevin Davis' office just isn't around the corner in that building, it's in the streets of Baltimore where I've seen him work vigilantly. And from the meetings that I've had with high officials of different gangs, along with Commissioner Cummings and stuff like that, some of the things he brought forth to this meeting is a result from working with those different people from those street organizations and community residents and religious leaders too. So I just bear witness and bear fact that the things I heard this evening, he has brought forth to y'all because he's listened to the citizens of Baltimore, and we need to give him the green light to do what needs to be done, because I know without a shadow of a doubt, it will get done. And I just want to say this in closing, right? My uncle was Oliver Murdoch, the officer who initiated the officer-friendly program in Cherry Hill. I'm elated. I'm happy. He told me years ago police weren't going to be the same, and I couldn't understand. But now I do. But with the programs that's been laid upon him, along with the help of my real good friend, Lieutenant Colonel Melvin Russell, and all of y'all, because I know all of y'all had a special part in that, we will win as a city. We will show the nation that we are number one and that Baltimore is best. And I want to thank all of y'all for allowing this man to be our new commissioner, and Lieutenant Colonel Melvin Russell to be his deputy commissioner. Thank you so much.
Dave Morris. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to take 3 minutes. Dave Morris, I'm the Chief of Police for the town of Riverdale Park, formerly Prince George's County Police, retired after 26 years. I've known Commissioner Davis for more than 20 years. I've worked side by side with Commissioner Davis for more than 20 years. You are not going to find a more honorable man. You are not going to find a man who possesses more integrity than Commissioner Davis. What I'm about ready to say is probably not politically correct. For those of you that are in this gallery know me, I'm not politically correct. So this is what I have to say. I firmly believe that God puts us in positions where He wants us in His time. There's a reason that Commissioner Davis is sitting here right now. And I do firmly believe that it is divine intervention. You can't ask for a higher authority than that. Congratulations, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Ulysses Miller.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Councilman Young, and councilman. I've been the Northeast president for the last 18 years. And I'm also a graduate of the FBI Citizen Academy and a member of the Anti-Terrorist Action Council. I've worked with numerous presidents, police commissioners throughout the years. And once in a while, you meet a commissioner who is just outgoing. And one of the things that I learned about myself, that is a collaborator. A collaborator gets things done. He's not the kind of person, oh, I'm a commissioner, I'm gonna do what I wanna do. He looks at the people around him and he bends a little bit to make things work. So therefore, I understand what the gallery is feeling. 18 years ago, a little bit longer, I grew up in Sandtown. So I know some of the problems that they're facing, they're still there. In '68, I walked the streets of Baltimore City in the riot as a National Guardsman. So therefore, I kind of look at people, listen to people before I make a decision about people. So in my opinion, making Kevin, almost forgot your name. And the funny part about it, I've worked with him ever since he's been with the police department. So I think that you'll be making an excellent choice in making him Baltimore City's new police commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Dwayne Davis.
Everybody call me Shorty. Couldn't sign up like that. All right. I do not approve or disapprove of this man because he got to earn this. You know what I'm saying? He just can't walk into this because that's what y'all did with Batch. Y'all gave him a green light and y'all let him walk into that. I want to know if this police is going to... He got public enemy number one because the people that's terrorizing the streets. And he wants to be hard on crime or a whole crime of people accountable. I want to know if you're going to go after political people that's committing crimes in this city. Because this city here ain't just in the state of Baltimore because of the people that's in the streets. The people that's running this state and the people that's running this city is just as accountable as the ones that you want to hold on the corner. All right? So I want to know personally, if you are brought a case against a public official, is you going to prosecute a public official the same way that you would prosecute me? Because, see, I've been prosecuted here in the state of Maryland for crimes I didn't commit. I just held Chief Johnson accountable. I just held Mr. McFeely accountable, and they cut and run. You know what I'm saying? And I put it on film. That's my gun, my camera. I've been holding your police accountable, and your police will tell you I put that camera on them. All right? Your police need to get a better attitude. They need to work with the people in the community. And this zero tolerance that Governor O'Malley put in place, y'all need to stop that shit. Y'all need to stop it. Y'all need to stop grabbing these black boys and these black men and snatching them up on the corner and making them drop their pants. Y'all need to start holding these police accountable. The same standard that you holding me accountable to, you supposed to. You supposed to serve and protect my community, not serve and intimidate my people. We're not accepting it. And y'all know how I get down. I don't need 1,000 people to march with me. I confront my enemies one-on-one, face-to-face. I don't run, I don't run. I'm 50-something years old. I'm a 50s baby. I'm a 56. I'm a 50s baby. I was born on the back of the bus. I done did the water fountain, the public accommodations. My hat is not gonna be in my hand no more because I'm a grown man. You're gonna accept us, you're gonna deal with us, and if we're not rioting, we got a right to protest. The Constitution protects my right of freedom of speech, to stand up against injustices by my government. I'm a veteran of the United States Navy. I'm supposed to protect my country against terrorists, foreign and domestic. Your police is terrorizing my community, and that got to stop.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Bilal Ali. Following Bilal Ali will be Johnny Hughes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here tonight I had to agonize over the decision. It was almost like Solomon, do you cut the baby in half or you let the real mother take the child? I think Commissioner Davis, given the circumstances, given the fact, should be allowed an opportunity to be the commissioner of Baltimore City. Everyone knows that Baltimore is not Alice in Wonderland. We know also that these are systemic issues that he inherited as everybody else who walks in these shoes. But I am willing to take the politics out of it and as a citizen, as a community advocate, endorse Commissioner Davis for this job. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Johnny Hughes? No. Howard Thompson? I can't read this one. Okay, go to another sheet. G. Burnett McFadden? Okay. All right.
Good evening. My name is Daphne Awesome, here representing the organization Mothers of Murdered Sons and Daughters of Maryland.
Okay.
At Miss Burnett here, Miss Candace Bryant, and Miss Millie Brown. We come to tell you about our experience with Kevin Davis. Well, Anthony Batts actually had put into action a survivor board for parents who have lost their children to violence. And I must inject this. I wasn't going to say it, but first, I looked around the room and listened to everyone talking, and for too long, the city has not heard from the mothers of these children. We no longer can afford for y'all to speak for us about our children, especially if you haven't even experienced what we have. We've been left out for so long, and we think that we can at least cut this murder rate and stuff down about 40% if you would use us. We're free of charge. We go in the alleys, we go in Gilmore Homes, we go places that probably no one here will ever go. 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, talking to young men, tell them to put their guns away, or tell them how to act, and they thank us for coming. So I just want to say about Kevin, when we met him, he kept the organization going. We were grateful for that. We come into his office, and we're not happy all the time. I mean, we lay him out. We lay all of them out, Mr. Melvin, Ross, everybody in that room, because truly we want justice for our children. I don't know why the city of Baltimore does not think that our children are nobody. We talk to them. You're no longer going to call our children murderer number 241, murderer number 1. You don't make these children humans. You dehumanize them so other kids in the community don't think that they're worth anything. So we decided as the moms that it's a new gang in town, and it's the mothers. And if you're not going to use us, we're going to get you out of place. We're going to remove you, and we really like Kevin. Matter of fact, I have an anniversary for my son every year, and Anthony Batts was supposed to be there. And he was, no longer had his job. So I'm sitting down there, we getting the grill together, waiting for the parents, and who pulls up? But Kevin, and we were just astounded. We here's somebody that really cares. I think in this room we've talked to probably one person I can look around here, two people, brother, Bilal, and Brother Nick Mosby. They're the only ones in the whole city that think that let us talk and share. Use us. We're the mothers of these young men. We can stop a lot of things. We want to go into schools. We want to go into Hickey. We want to do proactive things. We cannot go back to the past. We have to start fresh today. We want to give this new commissioner a chance because we think he deserves it, and he listens to us, and he hears from us. And we cry all the time we're in there because, you know, you can stay in there for 10 minutes. I'm doing good tonight. I think about that gun going into my son's head. And he didn't have a chance, and nobody to speak for him. I also think about the young man who pulled that trigger. We should have had some things in place. Baltimore been dealing with this murder for years. How nobody has chosen to do anything about it but talk. There should have been some things in place for these young men maybe don't even want to go to the criminal justice system. We have got to do some proactive things in Baltimore, and again, we say use us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am the founder of A Mother's Cry, which is for mothers who have lost their children to violence.
Please identify yourself for the record.
Excuse me?
Please identify yourself.
My name is Miss Millie Brown.
Okay.
I am the founder of A Mother's Cry.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
I had the honor to go in and sit down with Commissioner Davis, and he listened. The mother that stands to my right had 3 sons killed 6 weeks apart. Her, myself, along with Miss Austin and the young lady here, he sat us in his office and he listened. He didn't rush us out. We sat there for as long as we needed. I'm the one that sees them come in with a bullet in their head and their brains hanging on a stretcher, a big hole in their back. And I had got tired of seeing it. And I called Commissioner Davis, and he listened. And I want to say to you, Commissioner Davis, thank you for everything that you have done for the city of Baltimore. Thank you for everything that you are about to do for the city of Baltimore. We have a saying over at Johns Hopkins. Mr. Young, I'm one of your old coworkers from over there. We have a saying, I don't know if you remember this, you are the best of the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Hi, I am Burnett McFadden. I am the mother of 3 sons that was murdered 6 weeks apart. Commissioner Davis, he normally sees me with different color hair. And I come in with blue or whatever color, and he always give me a hug. He sit and he listened to me. I never had a problem with him. I love you so much, because he's the only police officer that I knew that came to me to hear my cry. I also speak. I do a lot of speaking. My sons, I'm with Legal Legacy. I'm with Family of Murdered Children and MAD. I do a lot of hearing and speaking, and he listens. And I think, and also Colonel Russell do too, and all the officers has met me. I would be appreciated if he was by my side to hear me and lead us on. I'm very proud to say that he's friendly, he's nice. To me, he's not. He's just a regular old police officer, a regular person. He's so sweet, and I love you, and I thank you so much for being there and hearing my cry. And I love you, Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Ms. McFadden.
Hello, everyone. My name is LaTanya Bryant. My son's name is Ernest Barnes. A year ago, I lost my son in Baltimore City. He's 24 years old. I lived the average life. I went to work, came home and did my wifely duties, take care of my family, travel, always engaging in community activities, doing what I needed to do for me and mine, minding my business and leaving other people's alone. That all changed for me a year ago. I know our streets are bad, and I hear everybody pounding the police, pounding the mayor, pounding city council, pounding all the political people. I have to do something. because I am in the community. And now I have to make it my business that I reach out to some of our young men and women to do better, because you can. And it's not about the music videos. It's not about the outfits, the clothes, and the cars. Those people do what they need to do. They're selling the music. Stop being a community thug, because that's exactly what I'm going to call them. Nobody knows you but the community. We got to stop. They're killing our children, 3 and 9 years old. I lost one, and my only one. Commissioner Davis and Colonel Russell and Colonel Bradford, they all listen to me. I'm new to this. I don't have a problem with helping people, because that's what I do for a living in human services. It's just different. These people were born with intellectual disabilities that I take care of. These other folks were born with common sense that they just don't use. He answers my phone calls. He listens to me. He answers me back. They call me Detective Candy. I'm going to ask questions. I lost my son, and even in his death, I have to take care of him. I can't do it by myself. I do need their help. In the 44 years of my life, I've never needed a police department like I need them now. Never. And in my experience in the last year, I've had no problem, even with bats, them helping me and answering my questions. It's hard, especially when you know you're doing the right thing, of taking care of yours, teaching him to be respectable. Takes you a long way. Phone call a mother never wants to get. Your son's been murdered. What are you talking about? I just had brunch with him 4 hours ago. Laid in the hospital all night long with a gunshot in his head and wasn't nobody there to hold his hand. It's painful. These mothers don't need to go through this. And don't become a mother of an organization just because you've lost your child. We got to work now. I think Commissioner Davis, deserved the position. On my own personal experience with him, he's great within. He's a doer. He's an achiever. He recognizes problems, and when he recognizes them, he does something about them. I've been watching him. I've been watching all these guys. So we got to stop pointing fingers. This is a job for everybody. Everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Mike Hilliard. Followed by Derek Bolden. Oh, Derek, I got Derek.
As the Community Relations Director of the Harbell Community Organization, a nonprofit organization serving the needs of over 80 communities and organizations in Northeast Baltimore, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you Harbell enthusiastically supports the appointment of Kevin Davis to the office of Police Commissioner. Mr. Davis assumed leadership of a police department at a time when the agency and our city were reeling from the recent civil unrest. He has instilled the department's personnel with a sense of mission and self-worth. He has significantly enhanced the department's relationship with its federal and state partners so that all available resources have been directed to our city's fight against crime. He has reached out to his partners within the community to start establishing the positive police and community relationships that truly enable law enforcement to function effectively. There is much work still to be done, and we at Harbell feel it is time that Mr. Davis should be appointed to the office of Police Commissioner so the critical work he has already so well started may be completed. Thank you for your consideration of my thoughts, and please know that Harbell and its members greatly appreciate your efforts to make our city a better place to live, earn, work, and play.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. Adam Rosenberg.
Good evening, members of the committee, President Young and committee chair. My name is Adam Rosenberg. I'm the executive director of Baltimore Child Abuse Center. We are the nonprofit children's advocacy center for Baltimore City, serving over 1,000 children a year who've been victims of child abuse, assault, and other forms of trauma. Briefly, since 1995, the Center for Disease Control has been telling us that when children have been exposed to such adverse childhood experiences as sexual abuse, physical abuse, neglect, witness to violence, and household drug use, there have been numerous studies on this. And when children have experienced one of these ACEs, there's an 87% chance that a child has more than one ACE. And they begin to cluster and they result in future community violence and is a leading cause of violence. This is nowhere more apparent based on our data as in zip codes 21215, 16, and 17, which, to unfortunately no surprise to us, was a cause of a great deal of obvious unrest, not just in April, but in many articles and studies in the Sun leading up to that. I raise that to you today because one of the often overlooked communities of Baltimore are its most vulnerable citizens, its children of Baltimore there. Since I have the opportunity to have worked with Kevin Davis this year, he has, as many people have said before, taken the time to learn what he doesn't necessarily know as an expert and respond to it. And in this past year, I have seen in Mr. Davis a police commissioner who cares not only about its citizens on the front lines, but also its youngest citizens, and how do we work together to prevent them from becoming statistics later on down the road, from becoming future victims of crime, from becoming future criminals or perpetrating crimes themselves. By working together, children need partnerships and partners in Mr. Davis there, and we have found at Baltimore Child Abuse Center such a partner that I really certainly encourage this committee to have a very favorable recommendation and pass this for a permanent commissioner for Kevin Davis. Consistency is needed in these roles there, and unfortunately often when we have change, and in the 8 years that I've been executive director, we have experienced voluminous change out throughout the city here, and with that change comes a lot of change in the ranks down below. When that change occurs, unfortunately, kids fall through cracks. And we don't have that opportunity to do that anymore. I believe we have a long-term partner here with Mr. Davis, and I wholeheartedly and certainly endorse him, thank him for the time he has spent learning about this issue there. He is truly one of the highest-ranking members of a metropolitan law enforcement agency to have come to the National Symposium on Child Abuse this last year and impressed everyone the fact that Baltimore cares enough about its kids to send someone of such a senior rank. I look forward to working with him in a favorable report. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg. Pastor Wood. That what, West? Is that what it is? Okay. We'll wait, and Pastor West will be followed by Beatrice Scott. Okay. See Pastor Wood. Okay. West. Okay. I couldn't. Okay. All right. We'll wait. Mm-hmm. Don't know. I'll call my council colleague in the meantime. While we're waiting for Pastor West, I'm going to allow my colleague Carl Stokes, who has a question he's just returned.
Thank you. Good evening again, Commissioner. How are you? So I do want to ask you, if I might, question actually that I'd talked with you about, not directly, but I sent you a message over about earlier. And so it is about this thin blue line of police, frankly, protecting one another, as we all should, except that there are instances where we have some members of the force who mistreat the citizens which they are sworn to protect and serve. And the issue of police brutality, of police abuse, et cetera. Just talk to us a little bit, because when you were a younger cop officer in Prince George's County, you were accused of kidnapping a 19-year-old after he left your jurisdiction, Prince George's. This is not for that, but actually left Prince George's, went to Anne Arundel County, outside of your jurisdiction, picked up this young man, took him to Howard County, and interrogated him. He was awarded $90,000 in a civil suit. We know all too often about the civil suits that take place in Baltimore City. There was also a second incident that a second individual was awarded, I think, $12,000 against your behavior. I just need to ask you, for the record, what was happening then, and how you obviously have to be the moral standard, the ethical standard for an entire police force. And
Sure.
so we have to have confidence, frankly, in your standards, so that justice is served when we have just a few, not very many, when we have just a few officers who mistreat and otherwise act outside of character toward our citizens.
Sure. So, Councilman, we did interact earlier today about that, and so this is my third police department in Maryland, and I never thought I would wear 3 different jerseys, right? But I have, and it's been an honor to do so, and I've been vetted at the highest levels of 3 major police departments in the state of Maryland, and each and every time I have gone through that process, I have gladly spoken about incidents that have occurred over my just shy of a quarter of a century in this profession. Now, the incident in the 90s that you referenced was a regrettable experience that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. Nothing in the world would I trade that experience for, because, frankly, it was a leadership failure at the time when I and others were put in a very precarious position, and unbeknownst to us, we were being asked to do something by a leader, and we didn't know the full story. So my take from that, and listen, I'm a father of 4 teenagers, right? My take from that is this: I will never, ever put any of my subordinates in a position where it can even be perceived as improper. And being on the receiving end of that in my formative years as a cop back in the 1990s, while unpleasant at the time to experience, made me a better person. And I guarantee you, if not for that experience, I wouldn't be standing here today, because it strengthened my resolve to be a leader one day. You know, we all, I'm sure something inspired you to go into politics. Something inspired me to assume a leadership rank within public safety. And I look back at those inspirational experiences, and those were them. I don't ask any of my folks to do anything that I wouldn't want to see on the front page, above the fold of the Baltimore Sun. So that's my response, and you know, I'd certainly be glad to continue to talk about it. I've spoken about it for many, many years, and whenever I have an opportunity to speak in front of a class, whether it's at Johns Hopkins University for Chief Mitchell, whether it's at an IACP event or a Police Executive Research Forum event that surrounds leadership, I always bring that up, because there's probably not one of us in a uniform here today, or one of us wearing a business suit here today, that hasn't had experiences that have helped shape us for the better.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Stokes. Is Pastor West available?
Listen, I came real briefly, quickly to say myself and so many other Baltimoreans, Baltimore residents agree with me that this is a beautiful assembly. We agree that this room is packed with a lot of officers and a lot of people of great position. But I will say it's not packed with enough individuals that go through what we're discussing today. This man, I gotta be honest, I was arrested at my church, and he said he had nothing to do with it. He knew nothing about it. And he also went higher to say that I was not arrested at my church, when clearly the video shows I was taken out of my church by over 20 police officers. I will say that this man is not a man that Baltimore City needs. His aggressive way of policing is not right. Also in 1994, he also had a lawsuit against him for slamming, spitting, and throwing a black man onto the ground. What's in him back then is still in him now. For instance, they will say felony. They would say if you were arrested before, you'll be arrested again for the same, a repeat offender. He's a repeat offender. He's a repeat offender. He will do it again. I'm saying he is not the man for Baltimore City. He is not the man for Baltimore City. I think Baltimore needs somebody with leadership that is not overutilizing his authority. He needs to come on a basis of relationship, not authority. He don't have no relationship with the people in the community. He never contacted me at my church. He never said, hey, we got a warrant out for your arrest or nothing. I was there September the 2nd. They could arrest me right then and there if I failed to obey. Why did you wait a couple days later to come and get me from my church while my parishioners were there? The parishioners were there. Why did you come to my church? That was an issue. That's a problem. He should have came, contact me. They waited exactly till my parishioners came there to arrest me. That's not right. We don't need nobody like that. Children were there. My son was there. My parishioners there. We have videotape cameras, and these are trumped up charges to say I attempted to incite a riot. I did not attempt to incite a riot at all. And this man is not who we need for our commissioner of Baltimore City.
Thank you, Mr. West. Beatrice Scott.
Good evening, council members and Commissioner Davis. I'm Beatrice Scott, president of the Ashburton Area Association, and our Ashburton Association is also a member of the Northwest Police Community Relations Council. And I understand, and I've been told that Commissioner Davis is a listener who taps into the hearts of people and situations and is a dynamic leader. Now, one concern I have is that I think it's because of Commissioner Davis that our Northwest Police Council has lost Major Mark Partee. And we lost our Major Mark Partee to become the director of the Police Academy. So we look upon that, our loss, as a gain for the city of Baltimore. In Ashburton, our motto is, we believe in education. One concern we have is that we have too many children in Baltimore who are leading lives of desperation, too many young adults. We would like to really see, we know this family, children need to be embraced with family, community, and also the city structure. We would like to see our children come out of our schools feeling good about themselves. And reading. We need some changes. We need to see less work for a police force. We need to make their work easy. Joy is an emotion that when a person pulls a trigger, they're not experiencing a joyful self-awareness. There's a negativity that has a power, and we need to flip that negativity into a joyful self-awareness of our children, our families, and everyone. And it's not all about the economics. I recently heard on WAA that the the currency of the universe is love. And it is. We all know it individually. And we need to create an embracing structure for children of disadvantage, families of generational disadvantage. We need to create a structure that supports feelings of shame and indignity. We need to learn how to turn that around. And then we can have a great support system for our police department that has less work to do. And I had more to say, but thank you very much. And I support the commissioner in his new position.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. John Barr. No. Elder C.D. Witherspoon.
Giving honor to God for this opportunity, Mr. Chairman, Council President, distinguished members of the council body, I want to thank you all for this opportunity. I would be remiss if I failed to say that I do not think that the police commissioner is a bad person. But I think that procedurally, the fact that we're having this discussion is very problematic, because in 15 months, we're going to have a contested mayoral election in Baltimore City. And the next mayor of Baltimore City should have the right to decide who the police commissioner of Baltimore City would be. We've got 2 would-be mayors on this council today, and several who are not in this room today, who should have the right to be able to decide who their police commissioner will be. My contention today is that if we make such a decision, what will happen is this commissioner has the potential to become one of the 6 that we're already paying in conjunction with a sitting commissioner when a new mayor is elected to public office. So we've got to be forward thinking. We've got to make decisions that are in the best interest of the citizens. It is not in the best interest of the citizens to give this commissioner a contract through 2020. The wisest and most feasible thing to do is to give him a contract throughout the duration of this incumbent mayor's tenure and allow for the next mayor to decide who the police commissioner will be so that they can decide, Councilwoman Spector, on a public safety strategy that works for the city of Baltimore, because this one is not working. It is not working. It is broken. Crime is out of control in this city. And this may just be a coronation. But Councilman Mosby, Councilman Stokes, I pray that this is the last appointed police commissioner that we have in Baltimore City, and the next police commissioner is elected by the citizens of this city. We need to have an elected police commissioner, because this is a coronation, and quite frankly, it is an abomination. All of the public statements that were made in the Baltimore Sun newspaper by council people in relationship to this, even prior to this process. This is a coronation, it is unfair, and it is an embarrassment to democracy. But I believe the people of Baltimore City will rise. And understand this, people are talking about that uprising and buildings burning. I want to say something to you that what happened that day was a cleansing experience. Because people have been sitting on their rusty dusties for far too long, and the same damn neighborhood that Freddie Gray lived in have been economically distressed for too long. The same neighborhood is proliferated with vacant and abandoned properties. The same neighborhood is inundated with poverty. The same community is inundated with all of the social economic ills that many members of this city council have sit here and have allowed to happen. So we're hoping that this is the last appointed police commissioner that we have, and that the next time we have an elected police commissioner, so that the citizens of this city can be involved in the democratic process, and though it not be a coronation at the taxpayer's expense.
Thank you, Elder Witherspoon. Kim Trueheart. Where is she? Not here. I don't see her. Oh, here she is. Okay.
Hey, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening.
This is probably the most important thing you folks have done in a long time. And you got it wrong. I like this man. Okay, let's say that. But he's got a big job to do. Okay? And he needs to listen to us. And the fact that this process is so convoluted and backwards pisses me off. Okay? You should have heard from us first. But all of y'all already made your choice, right? It's probably a good choice, because I'm going at the end say, vote for him. But the process sucks. Okay? Y'all don't give us credit for nothing. You're going to listen to people from Prince George's County, the state, to tell us who we want to run our police department. Don't disrespect us like that. Do not disrespect us. And the fact that y'all won't let us ask him questions and let him answer our questions is totally, totally offensive. There is a disconnect between the leader of the police department and the rank and file. There is a disconnect, and we have seen it demonstrated in every leader. This afternoon, the rank and file at the door didn't want young people to come in here because they may. So they made them put them out the building on the sidewalk. At the same time, the nominee is saying, I'm going to fight for your right for peaceful protest. But yet the young people are on the sidewalk when I walked in the building complaining that they couldn't get in. These aren't violent criminals. These aren't terrorists. They are babies. And the fact that the people at the front door don't get that, you have work to do. Because not only do they treat them badly at the front door of City Hall, they treat them badly in Sandtown, Winchester. They treat them badly in Brooklyn. They treat them badly in Cherry Hill. You might love them. I know you do. But the rest of those people that work for you got a lot to learn, a whole lot to learn about loving our children. And as far as I'm concerned, the disconnects that exist in this city is not just him and his officers. Yes, it's him and us. It's you and us. Now, when are we going to get this connection business straight? Because y'all are disrespecting us on every front. And as far as I'm concerned, this conversation needs to continue. You don't need to vote him out until you've heard from everybody. And the fact that my clock is up and I'm not finished means I got more to say. So when are you going to give me an opportunity to say it? Continue. Is that what you're saying? All right. So
thank you, Ms. Trueheart.
let's talk about the piece of legislation that I got passed in Annapolis last session for more transparency in the police department. It requires an annual report be produced by the police department that identifies information that we've been longing for. We need that report. And I am hopeful that you're going to meet the governor, signed the bill, okay? And the first iteration of this report is to come out in December. We want it. We need it. The law says it should be posted on the website. Okay? That's step one at our request for greater transparency. But I am hopeful that you will be so transparent as our commissioner, okay, that I will never have to go to Annapolis and get another bill passed that forces you to be transparent. I am hopeful that the change that is going to come in this city because you are our commissioner is going to save the lives of so many children, okay? I am hopeful that you're going to instill in the workforce, you know, that Gene Ryan was up at this microphone, and I got a bone to pick with him, okay? All right, the men and women who wear uniform in this city have to respect authority, okay? They gotta respect the law. They gotta respect you, because they dissed the last guy. They utterly dissed him. And I will conclude shortly. One more second.
No, thank you. You've spoken well over your allotted time.
You're
we
right.
have
And you
so
need
many more
you need to
people
allow me to
to
continue.
testify. There are other people that need to be heard, Ms. Trueheart. Thank you for your testimony.
You know, you allowed a mayoral candidate to come into this room and ask his questions. So is this a political stunt or what? Are you interested?
ma'am.
Are you interested in what the
We have
citizens?
so many other people whose opinions and comments need to be heard, Ms.
You know,
Trueheart.
Councilman
I appreciate
Welch,
your comments.
your district is the district that is suffering the most in this city, and you ought to insist and demand on accountability from this gentleman. You need to demand that he hears from the people, but you don't give a crap.
No, I need to hear other people testify. Thank you. Kelly Holsey.
Good evening, everyone. Commissioner Davis, responsibilities gravitate to the person who can shoulder them. I could never do your job. I could never do any of you. I could never do your job. I was someone who never judged you. I saw news clippings, media. I never had an opinion because it did not directly affect me. About 31 days after you were appointed as the interim commissioner, 31 days before, my fiance was shot by 4 officers in an enclosed garage. I know the details of the case and I know the state's evidence, and I can guarantee you that all of those charges will be dropped. But the thing about it is that everyone else has gotten a chance to know you. I don't know you. So I'm not gonna be against you, but I'm gonna tell you that you got a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. A couple nights ago, one of your officers, because you are the interim, so he is your officer, did not have enough respect for not a suspect or assailant, but a human being, and he spit on them. At the end of all of this, Commissioner Davis, this is your legacy. This is your name. If you are great, that's your legacy. If you're not, the last guy's not here. So what I'm gonna tell you is that you need everybody in this room, from those protesters, to these councilmen, to people like me. It's a respect thing. Transparency and accountability, you can't do anything with any of that until you understand that you have to respect the people of the city, these officers have to respect the people of the city, and we have to respect you all. You need our help. You need to work with us. You need to not put on a dog and pony show, which I've seen a lot of. And you need to have action. This vote of saying a couple of months is not enough to show what you can do. And I've heard your speeches, and you know what? I'm one of the people in my kitchen, someone is thumbing my fist in the air, believing that you're here for us. But you got a lot of work to do, and it's gonna require you to Take accountability of your officers, because if an officer thought it was okay to spit, you are his superior. That's something he doesn't respect you or that man in the street. These officers need to learn how to respect the citizen of the city. They need to know how to handle the very people that they police. 21% of officers live in the city. That's not good. How can you police someone? How can you protect and serve the people that you do not know and you do not understand? That's why you have incidents like my fiance, Keith Davis Jr. I was on the phone, I heard the shots, 44 shots. 4 officers. That is unacceptable. And not once have I heard from you or your office, not once have I heard from the Internal Affairs office. We don't know anything about anything. You have to be accountable, and you need everybody's help in this room. You need Pastor West, you need Kwame's, you need Tawanda Jones, you need everybody, because the responsibility is yours. Do not be a good commissioner, be a great commissioner. Do not just talk to us, show and prove, because at the end of the day, you see how they throw your past record at you? This is your legacy. This is your name. I'm not going to say I approve or disapprove. I'm going to give you the chance. But I guarantee you that at the end of the day, I will use every platform I have if you do not be a great commissioner, if you are not transparent, if you do not hold these officers accountable. I will go wherever I need to go, and I will use every platform available to me, because all of us have a voice. But we all have to use it collectively. It's not a us against you. It's not a you against us. It's a problem that affects us all. And the only way for you to be that great commissioner that I think you can be is that you're going to need everybody's help. And I am going to shake your hand, because I know that you can do this. But it's going to take a lot of work. Remember that responsibility. You said that you're the father of teenagers. This is your legacy. Please be a great commissioner. And remember, don't just say something, do it. Mean what you say. Thank you. Kelly Holsey.
Thank you, Ms. Halsey.
Kelly Holsey.
Trey Murphy. Followed by Aris Farabee. Lewis.
Good evening, everyone. Council members, intern police commissioner, hey, all of you guys. You know, I don't have anything written down, so this goes to show you how much it's just me speaking from what I know. And what I know is that there are serious issues facing Baltimore right now. And I'm going to tell you council members something that a lot of people probably wouldn't have the guts to get up here and say to you, which is that you failed. You have failed the citizens of Baltimore. It is evidenced by the continuous track record that we see inside of our communities every day. You failed. The fact that you guys couldn't even give Kim Trueheart a few more minutes to speak her piece, you failed. But you guys wasted no time giving 15 minutes to ask one question. You failed. You failed. Interim police commissioner, I'm gonna tell you something that too many people who you've spoken to probably haven't told you, which is that listening to the people doesn't equate to doing for the people. And so I need you to follow through on some things. And it's very evident that in 3 months, there has been a change, but the change has not been significant enough, and in some aspects it has been counterproductive to the work that people are doing at the grassroots level. One of the things is that there's been an all-out war waged by police on peaceful protests ever since the unrest. Kwame, Pastor West, countless of other protesters have been arrested unjustly for crimes such as inciting a riot. What grounds do you even give a person a charge to incite a riot on? What grounds? And so there are just ridiculous amount of things that have taken place. So I'm going to say to you things, I'm going to tell you 2 quotes that 2 of the greatest people who've ever walked this earth has said. One was the greatest power broker that ever walked this earth, Malcolm X. He said that we declare our right on this day to live as humans, to be treated as humans, to be granted respect as humans and the same rights as humans on this earth, in this day, by any means necessary. I'm prepared by any means necessary, so you can throw me out of here for going over time, because I'm telling you I'm gonna go over. I'm prepared by any means necessary to do what it takes to demand accountability and transparency. I'm prepared to do by any means necessary whatever it takes to ensure that the people who don't have a voice inside this room get a voice. I'm prepared. The second one was by one of the greatest organizers to ever walk this earth. Her name was Ella Baker, for you guys who don't know. And what she said, profoundly said, was that without struggle, there can be no victory. We still struggling, y'all thinking that we got victory. We still struggling. And y'all think that we got victory because we done fired one police commissioner just to get another one who hasn't put in a proven track record of being on the side of communities? You guys have failed. You guys have failed. The very fact that all of these other people got 15 minutes to speak, ask a question, you guys have failed. You guys have truly failed the people of Baltimore. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, that it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse unless you listen. It's only going to get worse. So with that, I'm going to also say in my last closing remarks, I'm thankful that you didn't cut me off because, I'm sure these would. And my last closing remarks, I'm going to say, there are people at the grassroots level who have already developed sustainable solutions to the issues that we're inside this room talking about. I'm going to say that again because maybe you guys don't know. There are already people at the grassroots level who have developed sustainable solutions to the issues that we're inside this room talking about. And all we've ever wanted is to come to the table of compromise to put these things in place. To put these things in place. One of the things that we did just a couple of days ago, and I talked to police commissioner, I hope that you got it because your name was on it. One of the things that we did was put out a public statement talking about the rules of engagements that the police department should implement when it comes to protests inside of Baltimore so that we don't have what we had back in April, right? That's one. The second thing is that one of the things that people at the grassroots level have also done is put out introduce multiple pieces of legislation that would meaningfully address some of the systematic issues that are present inside of Baltimore. We gotta wake up and realize that this isn't something new. The police department, just like this country, the United States of America, still hasn't addressed its original sin. The original sin of this country was slavery. The profit off of free labor on the backs of black people. The original sin of the police department is that they come out of a long tradition of slave hunters. Slave hunters. And it's clear that we still got racist issues happening today inside the police department. The fact that we think that we can dehumanize the people by spitting on them. The fact that we think that we can shoot people first and ask questions later. The fact that we think that escalation over de-escalation works. What's wrong with us? These are the issues. We haven't addressed the original sins.
Mr.
We
Murphy,
haven't,
Mr.
in a real
Murphy.
meaningful way. Hold up, wait, I'm almost
Can
done.
you conclude?
We haven't addressed these issues in a real meaningful way. We just haven't. And so what we're saying is that if you guys are truly about what you say, if you guys really practice what you preach, then it's not our job to come to these things. It's your job to come to us because we control the table. Don't get this shit twisted. We control the table. It was our votes that put you guys in this position, and it will be our decision that take you guys out. Let's be very, very, very clear about that before you try to cut me off. Let's be very, very, very clear about that. What we're saying nationally is that there's a debate happening, a debate about race relations inside this country. There's a debate happening. You guys still haven't got it through your minds yet that a conversation still needs to happen. We got economic issues inside this country, inside this city, where 25% of our city are living in poverty, and I would bet you it's probably more than that. I would bet you that it's probably more than that. 25% of our city is in poverty, just based off of the statistics. We got an issue where education inside this city is at an all-time low. One of the worst public education systems inside this city, but the state has been #1 in education for years. Tell me that ain't racism inside his face.
Thank you, Mr.
We
Murphy.
got an issue where economics inside this city has not reached black and brown communities. It has not reached black and brown communities. Where here downtown, it looks all shiny, where the tourists come. When you go to Johns Hopkins, there's renovation on the east side. Where it's downtown, it still looks the same way. Still looks the same way. You still got boarded up homes from street block corner to street block corners with 3 occupants living inside of 3 houses on the block. We still got these issues, and we still want to have the same conversation. So, Commissioner, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not for you, and I'm not for you, not because I'm against you, or not because I think that somebody inside this police department or inside this country deserves your position more than you. I'm against you because I haven't seen your track record. I haven't seen you get behind the people's agenda. I haven't seen that shit. I'm sorry. So no, you don't have my vote. I haven't seen half of y'all. Well, actually, probably all of y'all. I haven't seen any of y'all get behind the people's agenda. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen them. Now, there are some of you guys sitting up here who have done a little bit of work, and I applaud you for it, done a little bit of work, but I haven't seen you get behind the people's agenda yet. I just have not seen it. So whenever y'all get behind the people's agenda, then you can count my vote in. But until then, I guarantee y'all will raise hell. And I guarantee y'all there's gonna be that way. So you can play like you don't know. You can play like you want it. But I guarantee you, this is all I got. This is all I got. My life is on the line. My life is on the line just like every other black person that walk in and out of this building. My life is on the line. And so if that means that I gotta give my life, if that means that these police officers probably gonna arrest me when I get out of here, if that means that I have to come here time and time again and raise hell, that's what I'll do. And I'm letting you know, you might expect it. This is all I have.
Iris Farabee Lewis. Iris Farabee Lewis. Last call, Iris Farabee Lewis. Ms. Lewis, are you here? Hearing no response, that concludes public testimony. Those people who have signed up to testify. Who is it? Oh.
First of all, I want to say the only reason why I didn't sign
Jones,
up
please repeat your name for the record.
to Wanda Jones,
All right, thank you.
the one that got a target on her back because I'm standing up fighting for what's right. The one who car tires keep getting slashed. I had to ride down here on a donut. The one that's constantly harassed for fighting for what's right. I'm so sick and tired of the Doug and Pony show because at the end of the day, y'all go home to y'all family. My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered, worse than an animal. We ain't been out here all this time. I gotta leave work, come protest. I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of the grim looks like nobody life mean nothing. We seen yesterday an officer, a sergeant, spit in a young person's face. When that officer did that, he spit in all of our face. I'm sick and tired of being tired. It's not right. I'm asking y'all, when is the Doug and Pony show going to end? I'm tired. Nobody even had enough respect for my family just to come and talk to us. We had to chase the man down, all the way down. The list goes on. No type of respect whatsoever. And then the saddest part, people look at you like you crazy. Like your brother's life didn't mean nothing. I don't care if it take my life. I'm not going to stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, my name is somewhere on the paper. I guess y'all can't read.
What is your name,
something.
sir?
My name is Travis Robertson.
What is it now?
My name is Travis J. Robertson. I'm in your district that looks the pits.
Your name is on the list, but you didn't check it off to testify. Well, more than
Well, I
happy to
signed
hear.
it.
More than happy to hear your testimony.
Okay. Can you set it at 3 minutes, please? Thank you. I'm a law student and I'm a community advocate. The citizens of Baltimore are tired of the BS. They're tired of the okey doke. They're tired of the tell me anything from the script. I'm hoping that Sergeant Robert Mincer is charged with first or second degree assault and battery, which carries 10 or more years in jail. He should be suspended without pay if that hasn't already happened. Because let me tell you something, me being a law student, I did some legal research because that's what a school in California is teaching me to do legal research. Now, it's a felony to assault a crooked, rotten potato, AKA a crooked cop. But what kind of charges is going to be filed against Sergeant Mincer, who has a new name in Baltimore City, the Spitter?
That's right.
I want to know, most of these white police officers don't give a damn about black people. Because in order, there had to be some kind of disrespect toward a black man for him to spit on a black man while a camera is going and say, forget your life. I don't care about your life. I'm going to spit on you because you're a piece of trash. What is going on? You have cops who are racist, white supremacists, KKK, skinheads, the KKK in uniform. Police officers need mental health evaluations when they are in the academy that we pay for, and while they're in uniform driving around in cars that we pay for. Not all police are idiots, but you have many idiots who are violating the rights of citizens daily. I want to know from you, Mr. Davis, are you willing to come to Annapolis next year, January, February, March 2016, to help us get the rest of the 15 House bills that the delegates decided not to put in place? We need police accountability and we need police responsibility. I want to give you, Mr. Branch and Mr. Davis, a lesson on foot patrol. Let me give you the definition of foot patrol. Police officers patrolling an area on foot, greeting citizens who pay their salaries, benefits, perks, incentives, etc. It's the duty of the Baltimore City Police Department to protect and serve the citizens who pay their salaries. They should be on foot with breaks at least 4 hours or more a day. Y'all get special treatment polices from Under Armour anyway. Call Under Armour and get them to give you some walking boots and some tennis shoes and hit the ground.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. I take it there are no other persons ready to testify? All right, I'll hear your testimony.
Kevin Davis, if you sit by and allow us to be escorted out while voicing our political opinions to agency, then you have already gone back on your word. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check.
Oh, ma'am.
Will not decide if you become permanent commissioner of our city, that I will be the young, queer, black girl, the 20-year-old, 12 o'clock boy, confronted with riot gear, the 25-year-old, trans black girl, you assault in the
I didn't see it.
You have made. That you have made. We will not leave. We will not leave. Until our demands. Until our demands are met. If you refuse to meet our demands. If you refuse to meet our demands. This will not be the last you see of us. This will not be the last you see of us. Justice. No justice. No peace. No justice. No justice. No peace. If we don't get it, shut it down. 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 No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. If we don't get it, shut it down. 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 If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. No justice. No peace. No racist. Police. 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 I can start now with your time.
Please identify yourself for the record.
I'm JC.
Answer the question first.
And to answer your question, we are City Rock, the students of Baltimore City.
Who's the big gay lady in the city? And the fact that you have him trying to speak after we have already said our opinion shows how much you don't give a damn about anybody here. United we fall. 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 United we fall.
People united
Will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people all night, all day. We will fight for Freddie Gray. All night, all day. We will fight for Freddie Gray. All night, all day. We will fight for Freddie Gray. All night, all day. We will fight for Freddie Gray. All night, all day. We will fight for Freddie Gray. All night, all day. We will fight for Freddie Gray. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. We are not going to leave until you respond. Engage us productively.
You called us thugs.
You called us thugs.
We were on the streets. And now we have met you. Where you stand. You still refuse. To engage us. This shows. Insincerity. We will not leave. Until you respond. Kevin Davis. We are the students.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you do not stop, I will cease this hearing and you must leave City Hall.
Engage us. If you wish.
You are engaged. Thank you.
Mic check. Mic check. Mic check.
Sir, do you want to testify? I can recess. Sir, would you like to testify? If not, I will recess the session and resume at another time.
I would. Okay. I won't cut my babies off.
How you doing?
I would like to testify, but I want that question answered. I want that question answered. I want that question answered. I will not disrespect my babies, my children, my young people. They're the age of my daughter. I will not disrespect them. Will not disrespect them for this place. I don't care. I will not disrespect my young black people. Much respect. What's that question? Much respect.
What is that question?
You have a checkered past, sir. WTOP said you have a checkered past. I'm calling you on your cell phone now so you can answer the question.
What is the question? Okay.
It is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to win. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect each other. We must love and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our change. We have nothing to lose but our change. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. It is our duty to win. We must love and support each other. We must love and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our change. 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 You are real disrespectful having conversations with your constituents.
I'm going to recess the hearing. I'm going to recess. Who wants to address it?
Step up or step down.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, Acting Commissioner Davis will address you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I'd like to propose this to you because we can accomplish a lot more when we're sitting down at a table where you can all fit and you're addressing me. So I will speak.
You have let all of your supporters speak. You talk about engaging. Do it right now. We don't do private meetings. We are the black. We here. We pay you $200,000 a year and $150,000 service pay. You can talk.
I will be more than happy to meet with your entire group and interact with.
I'm going to call a recess. I'm going to call a recess.
Stop the vote!
Public testimony has concluded. The Executive Appointments Committee is now in recess. Thank you. Please check your areas around your seat and make certain you have everything that you brought with you. We will schedule a voting session at a time certain. Thank you.